I'm a poet in actions, not in words. You either remain unbreakable or you end up broken.
Andrew starts the fire. I just make sure we don't burn down.
You can be two men with a camera and you can influence the entire world. And I've proven that.
What's something no one knows about Andrew?
What will surprise you most about Andrew is two mixed race kids on a council estate in Luton statistically have no chance, let alone building the empire Andrew and I have. Controversy now surrounds my name. I joked saying I'm going to get business cards saying Tristan Tate, human trafficker. Not today, CIA.
Would you say you're one of the richest people alive without a bank account?
There's levels of being wealthy that you can't fake. And the banks.
And is it true you're planning on building a Tate Tower?
Foundations have already been laid. Now England, for me, is just not a livable environment.
But what about bruv?
I control the political interests of so many of the UK's youth. I'm not lonely. Women love me.
What is your most fond prison experience?
I can't say this.
You can. Tristan, what's been the biggest betrayal in your life?
I've always, whether it's from the starting point with the relationship I have with Andrew, I've always been very careful about who I select to be friends with. As you know, even now, I run my own private network and I only select new friends from there. So people are vetted before I even come face to face with them. I don't think I've ever been betrayed in a monstrous way that's harmed me. Well, actually, now you say that, I can talk a little bit about this girl I'm suing in the United States. In September, she's on trial in a civil court because she was the person who I believe was sent to make some kind of allegation against us to open the door for the police. So I could talk about her a little bit because that's the accusation that was made against me that caused me a lot of trouble. It caused me a lot of problems. And the thing is with her is people often ask me about this girl. And I don't know if she was sent to do this. I think she was because her accusation was so stupid.
What did she accuse you of?
She said she was locked in my house. This is what started the entire legal saga.
Right.
She said she was locked in my house, but CCTV showed she was at a birthday party in my house that I wasn't at, and she left afterwards. So it was such a bad job of accusing me of anything. That's why I think she was told to do it. And I think she was told to do it because I'd met her and had been hanging out with her, and she was visible on my Instagram in my stories and tagged in some stories in Miami. I'd actually met her twice before that. So her coming along and making that accusation, this is the only person who's ever accused me of anything, by the way. When they talk about, oh, there's other victims, all these women have said, I'm not a victim of anything, leave me alone. That's the only person who's ever actually accused me of anything. And I feel betrayed by it. Because when people ask me about this person, my honest answer is that I don't have a single unpleasant memory of her. I don't have a single unpleasant memory hanging out with her, talking to her. We used to WhatsApp, suggest which books to read. I mean, it was quite a setup if someone did, in fact, tell her to do this. But I haven't got a single bad word to say about her because I never saw her ever again. Everything was fine. Then the police came to my house and questioned me for the first time. I've never spoken to her after that day. So I guess you could consider that a betrayal. I look at the way she even came to Romania. She's like, I really want to come and see you. I wasn't suspicious. I actually said, here's my debit card, book a flight. She flew business class, booked the flight herself to come to Romania. I guess that's the most damaging betrayal. But as with everything in my life that happens, I'm glad I went to prison, and I'm glad all this, I guess, controversy now surrounds my name. And I'm glad that I have shown people, quite frankly, that Andrew and I were under attack, because people can't explain why every new place I go, they open a new criminal investigation, why I can't have bank accounts, all these things me and Andrew were saying before about the Matrix attacking us. I think this case has really shown the world that we weren't just paranoid psychopaths. So I'm grateful to that person for making this stupid accusation. And I look forward to financially bankrupting her family forever in September. But I guess that's the worst betrayal I've ever suffered.
Is there nothing inside you that feels hurt or pain when these things happen to you?
I mean, when I was in prison, I remember thinking, okay, now I'm in prison. Why doesn't she tell the truth? Why doesn't she post on her Instagram from the safety of her home? Okay, I made it up. Clearly I was lying. Let the guy out of jail. And as I sat there in prison thinking, why hasn't she done that? Because her little story's obviously gone way too far. that's when I decided I would be suing her. And I was very frustrated at the time that I was in prison. But when you take what I've been through recently, now my life's returned to normal, but when you take what I've been through and you look at it through the lens that I look at it through, I see it as an overwhelmingly positive experience. So I can't be mad. It's like the girl who broke your heart when you were 18, but now she's 45 and she's fat and ugly, you know? You're like, thank God I dodged that bullet. So like at the time, it felt bad, but this has been such an overwhelmingly great experience for Andrew and myself, and a learning experience that I'm not really mad about it. It's a very unemotional clapback, my lawsuit against her. And do I really want to financially bankrupt her family? I guess so. And I will. And it will be funny. And she deserves it. But it's more so about me. It's more about, hey, look, the court says I was falsely accused, everybody. Back off. Stop running your mouth. Stop saying things about me. It's been proven I was falsely accused. I just want that piece of paper. But she's, and her and her family are collateral damage, I guess. Which I think is fitting because my family has been collateral damage of her stupid little story. So I think it's fair. You know, the universe balances itself out in the end.
You don't think you'll get some bad karma in reverse for doing that?
No, because I don't see it as a unprovoked or undeserved thing to do. If I lied about you and made up some story and it was completely unbelievable and proven wrong from the first day with CCTV footage, messages, all of that, and some prosecutor decided to run with my story and actually put you in jail, I think I'd have the heart while you were in prison to say, look, I actually made it up. Rob didn't do anything to me. So the fact that she didn't do that either meant that she was paid to do this and funded by someone. NCOS is what's it called? An NGO funded by George Soros, which is, by coincidence, funding her entire legal defense, which is interesting. And they've had a hard-on for Andrew and I since before this allegation took place. So I think she was sent to do this and she was way over her head. But you can't just go around harming people just because you're ignorant. You can't go around harming people just because you're stupid and ignorant and looking for a quick payday. So I think that this balances out the karma. I would never go out of my way to damage anybody or to hurt anybody. And I always live my life that way. So no, I think this is very fair. And I'm very much looking forward to September when the TV cameras are around at court. Everyone can see her face. Everyone can say her name. It's going to be the next Johnny Depp Amber Heard.
Do you, because of your experience, struggle to trust people?
I don't really trust people anyway. It's very hard to trust new people for me anyway. If we're talking about women, because this woman obviously flew herself to Romania to make this stupid accusation, no, I will not tar everybody with the same brush because I've run into one bad actor. One. Two, I also understand that the perfect storm was created by the UK Foreign Office, the United States Democrat government with Antony Blinken literally asking the Romanians to get me off the internet. This girl showing up, a prosecutor who knew she was lying, deciding to use the full power of the Romanian law to put me in jail. I've never had a trial. It's never been ordered to go to trial. In fact, it was ordered that it can't go to trial because the evidence is all corrupt and insufficient. So it was a perfect storm. I don't know if she knew how much damage it would do, but I'm not afraid of it. And certainly if I met a lovely young lady in London or Germany or Paris or Belarus today, and she said, I'm going to come see you in Dubai, I'd be like, yeah, cool, come and see me. Because there's no prosecutor here in Dubai who wants to put me in jail for no reason. And she would have to lie to say that I did something heinous. And lies fall flat on their face. It's just that Romania was perfectly situated with the way that their legal system works to screw me with this lie for as long as possible. From the moment I was accused, it was 1 year and 8 months until the first day I could even show her text messages planning to lie to the police to a judge. 1 year and 8 months. So it was a host of people who were involved in this, but it doesn't make me distrust anyone more than usual. I mean, I don't trust pretty women anyway. So what can
You don't want to tar everyone with the same brush.
No,
but
yeah.
Why don't you trust pretty women?
It's people in general I don't trust. It's people who wouldn't have wanted to hang out with me 15 years ago. I think that's my filter. I have friends who you know the Rorys, the Nigels, the Marcells, who I've known since I was flat broke. I'd have no money, and they'd be like, Tristan, I've got some beers, come over, let's, I don't know, do something. And these people wanted to hang out with me when I had absolutely nothing. So now when people want to associate with me, whether it be beautiful women or men, I distrust them and I put them through that filter. Now, don't get me wrong, I always had pretty girlfriends back when I was broke, and there's lots of good women in the world. I saw something very funny on the internet. It was just a stupid meme saying, I don't trust women because I have mummy issues. My mother was a wonderful woman and she made me think that they could be trusted. And I thought that was quite profound and hilarious. But yeah, I don't trust people in general. My life is pretty good. I know lots of good women, lots of good men. I have lots of close friends. And, you know, why open yourself up to attack when you're not lacking anything? Sure, if you're lonely or if you're friendless, then you have to, you know, take a bit more risk to broaden your horizons and to try to get into some social circles. But I'm perfectly happy. If I want to go to a restaurant, I can message the war room right now and say who's coming to dinner. And I have 50 guys who I can trust who will come to dinner with me tomorrow. I'm not lonely. Women love me. So yeah, I distrust people in a healthy way. And I think everybody should do that. I think the person who trusts absolutely everybody and walks through their life thinking the best of everybody doesn't understand that, you know, people behave on a spectrum, and there are some evil psychopaths out there, and there's some really lovely people out there. But you have to at least assume everybody's in the middle until you get to know them well enough. That would just be like a mathematical basic equation of how to behave.
Have you not become more skeptical as you've gone through more in your life?
Yeah, I think that you do get more skeptical and more cynical the older you get, no matter what happens in your life.
Just because you've seen more.
Yeah, and now it's kind of funny. Beautiful women message me all the time. The people who hate me can't stand the fact that the women they look at on the internet all day, on Twitter, etc., are in my DMs. But when they message me, I literally just reply stupid things. Nice try, FBI. I literally, I will reply that to women who
you do realize other guys are going to try this now.
Yeah, but men would cut off their arm to be with this girl, and I'm like, not today, CIA. I literally dismiss them all. Then I show my friends. It's funny. Then I hang out with my girlfriend, who I know I trust. Like, everything's fine.
Yeah. So, you're just enjoying your life.
Basically, yeah. I enjoy working. I enjoy every day of my life. I did on house arrest. I even did to a point in prison. But life is essentially returned to normal now. I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of people who want to hear what I have to say. I have to get my message out. I have to clear my name. There's lots of things to do. But if you look at anybody's life, you know, people think that my life is somehow burdened by this pending legal issue hanging over my head, as though I think about it. It's not the sword of Damocles. I don't care if there's somebody in Romania or Florida writing my name on bits of paper and stamping them and moving papers around. I'm in Dubai in my car, coming to do a podcast with Rob Moore, and afterwards I'm going to dinner. I don't care who's doing paperwork about me. I don't let these things bother me. And if you look at anyone else's life, they've got a lot bigger problems than I have. You know, they need to get themselves out of poverty, off of drugs, out of their addiction. They need to stay away from the gambling arcades. I don't know what their problem is, but their problems are a lot bigger than mine are. So for all intents and purposes, my life has returned to normal, and I'm pretty happy.
Why was prison good?
You've never been to prison?
No.
Have you ever thought about...
Like I'm weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weirdo.
Come back, Rob.
Jesus, yeah. Hello, officer. Yeah. So you're a full-grown man. Have you ever thought, wonder what prison's like? Wonder how I do in prison? You ever thought about that while watching a prison documentary or reading about someone being in prison falsely? Have you ever thought, I wonder how I do in prison? I wonder what prison's like. You never pondered that thought?
Yeah, well, the last time I was with you and Andrew, you gave me the quandary of, would you go to prison for 90 days for X million or X personal brand? And I said, I probably would.
There we go.
Yeah.
So
it's a small price to pay.
So because if you've ever thought about it as a man,
I mean, I don't like bum sex.
Well,
so
the thing is with
you're a good-looking guy.
Are we talking about with women or men? You know, I'm also huge, and people are quite, you know, scared.
Yeah, I'm not as imposing as you.
My haters make that joke. They went, "Oh, if he goes to prison, you know, X, Y, Z is going to happen to him." I'm like, no. I'm the guy that when I walk into jail, people are hoping that I'm not, you know. But to be fair to Romanian prisons, to be fair to Romanian prisons, because they're all Orthodox Christians and most of these dudes have wives and girlfriends, I've never heard of in prison.
Right.
And I've been to prison.
Yeah.
They'll torture you, burn your feet, and, you know, stab you with toothbrushes.
Did that happen to you?
No. I mean, everyone has a healthy level of respect for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you've ever pondered the thought, how would I do in jail? If you get sent and it's not for a soul-crushing amount of time and you get out, you're like, oh, well, that's how I do in jail. I now know something else about myself.
Yeah.
So it is very positive in that way.
Yeah. What is your most fond prison experience?
I can't say this.
You can.
Let's just say I made a very good friend in prison, a very good female friend. And that's all I will say on your podcast.
And I would not be doing my job if I asked you to explain in a bit more detail. And you probably wouldn't respect me as a podcaster if I didn't.
I wouldn't. Well, women like me.
Yeah.
And women work at prisons.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. I made a very, very close friend.
And how intimate was that friendship?
As intimate as things get. Between men and women.
I don't want this moment to end, by the way.
Fair.
I just want to sit here looking at you for another 20 years.
Here's what I will say. No rules were broken. I will actually say that. Legally, no rules were broken on anyone's side. I will say that because that's important. But yeah, I made a very dear friend in prison. I will give more details on this in the months and years to come.
Maybe you'll invite me back to...
Absolutely. Sure.
I just want to bottle this little moment.
Well, it's an exclusive. I've never talked about that on podcasts. But friendship isn't against any rules.
No. Intimate friendships aren't, are they?
I mean, no, they're not. Fully consenting adults can do whatever they like within the confines of various rules of institutions. Next question.
I'll just let you sip your coffee.
I'm enjoying this coffee. Yeah. I've been waiting to allude to this for years.
Okay. How do you make someone fall in love with you?
It just happens, Rob, you know? That's a very difficult question. I think well, I think it just happens. I don't know. I mean, lots of women have professed their love to me in the past. I have women who are obsessed with me. I have women who follow me around famously. In Bucharest, I've got 2 women who show up everywhere I go. They walk around town looking for me and try to like get past my security guards to pass me love letters and stuff. So I don't know. I think that I'm not going to give the cliche of, you know, you're perfect for somebody and somebody will fall in love. One day you'll find your true love. Because most men out there need to understand that they're not even on the radar for most women. Right. The way that the world has changed. And what people say about, you know, the top 60, 70% of women chasing the top 1% of men is pretty accurate. That's not something I preach. I'm not one of these, what are they called? I'm not one of these incel, manosphere, red pill dating coaches. But that certainly is quite true in the world. And most men aren't on anyone's radar. But if you are strong and fit enough and, you know, charming enough and wealthy enough, if your lifestyle looks fun enough, if you have something that makes women aspire to be by your side, you know, women throw themselves at you. And
so you do know.
Well, I guess I do.
Yeah.
I remember being 17, 18, 19, and I always had a smoking hot girlfriend because I was a kickboxer. That was something. Today, that doesn't matter because all of these same girls, so let's say when I was 18, I had an 18-year-old girlfriend. That same girl today in 2025 who's 18 is getting hit up by sheikhs, footballers, dudes in Monaco with boats. So her options are insane. And this is the struggle that the young man today has to deal with. When I was 18, women are looking for someone in their town today. Oh, Tristan has a motorcycle and he's a kickboxer. That was good enough.
In Luton, there's not massive competition.
No, there wasn't. Luton is, I wasn't a drug addict. That put me in the top 20% right there. So, yeah, I don't know how to make, you know, women fall in love with you. But I would say some of the strongest love that I have in the world doesn't come from women. It comes from friends because love is not just a sexual thing. And love isn't just a feeling between men and women that gets our stomachs feeling all funny so we can walk around holding hands. Obviously, my case is ridiculous. But at one point, they arrested a guy who works for me, and they arrested my nutritionist. And they arrested him and put him in jail. And they said, sign this piece of paper saying you're money laundering for the Tates. He goes, what do you mean money laundering? He goes, he bought you this Ferrari. We know that he didn't really buy you a Ferrari. No one buys anyone Ferraris. That he's just trying to hold assets in your name and it's money laundering. And you're looking at 5 years for money laundering. So confess that the Tates are money laundering, sign this statement, and walk out the door. And both of those men said, no thanks, I'd rather go to prison. And they went to jail. One of them went to a worse jail than I was held in.
Wow.
And luckily a judge let him go after 24 hours. But that's love. That's real love. All the guys out there who think their wife loves them, I would challenge them to say that not all of them, 80%, 85% of the married men out there, you put your wife, who you think loves you with all of her heart, in the same position that you put my guys, Alex and Alex, in. And the wife would be like, okay, well, I'll sign the paper and just let me go. You know? So I think that love comes from a place of respect. And I think some of the most powerful love in the world a man could feel is platonic love between his friends and his brothers. I think that's the most beautiful thing in the world. It's certainly more, the love I have for my friends and the love they have for me is certainly greater and more meaningful to me than the love I've ever felt from any woman.
Wow.
That's love.
So when women that you interact with in your life hear you say things like this, does it not irk them?
It doesn't matter if it does. I mean, people who want to be my friend but are useless to me, it may irk them as well. It may upset them as well because they understand that they haven't got that indomitable spirit that I look for in the people that I associate with. And it's not women's fault. I understand you set a woman down, I'm going to send you to jail for 5 years. But they did that with 2 women in my life, and they threatened them with jail. And those women said, no, go send me to jail then. I'm not going to sign a statement saying Tristan hurt me. No, piss off. And they did that as well. So full respect to them. I think it's different, the love between men and women and a love between brothers and friends. But I would still say that the love between brothers and friends is certainly the most powerful love in the world.
Yeah.
That's what builds the world. It's what changes the world. I'd argue the guys in the trenches in World War I, who are from the same hometown, who were going over the top and charging at the machine gun fire, you know, having each other's backs, I'd argue that love is stronger than, you know, a man and wife who get together for the sake of, you know, having a happy life and procreating and having kids. Not that one is better than the other, but one I'd say was stronger than the other, you know? I'm willing to die for my friends. If 10 men attack my friends with knives, you've got to kill me too. And my friends are exactly the same way. I don't expect it from women. I expect women to be like, okay, I love you. I'm going to give my life to you in the way that I'm going to have a family with you, have kids with you, rely on you, put all my trust in you. Once you have 2 or 3 kids, you're cutting off a lot of your future options in terms of work or career or anything else. So they're very different. But yeah, I love my friends. So I think before you consider how can I make women love me, which wasn't necessarily your question. I think all the young men out there need to understand, how can you make men love and respect you? How can you make your friends love and respect you? Because there's nothing a woman likes more than a man who's respected by other men.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So if this is, if the question is skewed towards how do you make women love you, when people see me in a room with 7 or 8 people who really speak about me in high regard and have a lot of respect for me, that's an aphrodisiac for women. So,
right. So it seems to be a common thread in this conversation. It's about becoming a person that other people are attracted to, whether it's men or women.
Yes, exactly.
So rather than desiring, this is what pisses me off about the law of attraction. People say, I want. I don't give a fuck about what you want.
No one cares. Yeah.
Surely it's better to become the thing you want. Like, if you want money, become investable.
Exactly.
Then you get money. If you want a good woman, become a good man.
Exactly.
Seems to be a thread that we're...
No, it is a thread, and it's something that Andrew and I preach constantly. We've been preaching self-improvement ever since we first got on the internet, you know, in between our inappropriate jokes that, you know, keep getting played 10 years later. But we've always given a message of self-improvement because I think that's the way we've always seen the world.
Yeah.
2 mixed race kids on a council estate in Luton statistically have no chance of ever, owning your own home would be a great achievement if you were born in those circumstances, let alone building the empire Andrew and I have. So we just knew that we had to be better than, we had to outgrow our environment if it was ever going to change. And now I'm here in Dubai talking to you. So it obviously worked.
Thank you. Is self-improvement, is there a problem with always chasing to be better? Does it make it harder for you to appreciate where you are in your life right now?
Well, the universe is very kind, and the universe often knocks you back. And I think those moments are very necessary in life to understand that I was flying in a private jet. A few days later, I was opening Christmas presents with my daughter. 48 hours later, I was in a prison cell. I'm like, did I really appreciate that as much as I should have appreciated it?
You mean when you were opening presents?
When I was sitting in prison. So life occasionally knocks you back and makes you understand that you should appreciate what you have. I think a lot of people can be spoiled if they're certainly born into wealth or influence. That can spoil people.
Yeah.
But the world is a cruel place, and it's a beautiful place. And I could tell everybody listening, as a matter of fact, within the next 15 years, something terrible is going to happen to you. Absolutely, that is what's going to happen. Someone you love is going to die. You're going to get injured. You're going to have a car crash. Something bad is going to happen to everyone in the next 15 years. So these events knock you back. And self-improvement isn't just about, trying to be better and better every single day. It's understanding that if you're not improving, you're shrinking. I trained this morning. If I didn't, and I didn't train tomorrow, and I didn't train the day after, I'm not just maintaining where I am. I'm actively going backwards. You're an investor and a businessman. If you took a week off work, you haven't just maintained your position. You've spent money. You've gone and enjoyed yourself. You've actively taken steps back. So life is a journey where you constantly have to be swimming against the tide, or you get swept away. And I don't see it as a choice. Yes, you have to train every morning. Yes, you have to work every day. Yes, you have to make smart decisions, because if you don't, you get sucked back by the tide into this pool of everybody else, where 90% of the people in the world live, because they don't understand that basic rule. So anyone who preaches against self-improvement, you'd have to have either the perfect life, the best genetics, and be in the best shape just because God blessed you with whatever, already a billionaire, no need to work, everyone in your life loves and respects you. You have to be the most knowledgeable man in the world and know everything, having read every book that humans have ever put together. Then you can be like, yeah, self-improvement's stupid. But only once you've done it.
But those people are never happy though, are they?
No, they're not.
Like, name someone who's achieved that panacea, and there's a nagging need for more and challenge and chaos.
So you can either be unhappy up there or unhappy down here. And most people are unhappy down there. And I've been both. Yeah. And this one's better.
At least try that one. At least
exactly.
Get to the good one and try it.
At least try it.
Stop bitching about everyone that's there. Go try it.
That's what Andrew famously said to some guy who reached out to him saying he was going to kill himself. Andrew said, get a six-pack first, then kill yourself. He goes, what do you mean? Just get a six-pack, 1 or 2 meals a day, thousands of crunches, squats, push-ups, get a six-pack, then kill yourself. I don't care.
Which you won't.
And the guy got in great shape, almost had a six-pack, got down to like 16, 17% body fat, looked great. And he said, Andrew, you saved my life. Why would I want to kill myself? Everything's great. So yeah, you have to try to reach somewhere higher up before you say, this is it. I'm just going to look down from here and look down on everyone else. But most people don't get it in life. And you know, this dream that everyone's going to be rich or your time will come or everything's going to work out for you is completely false. And most people are born broke, they live broke, they die broke. And then if they have bought a house in their life, inheritance tax comes and takes it away from their kids. So that's most people's life cycle. So when I sit out here, you know, telling people to try and do better, you can look up from, I won't say the bottom, you can look up from where I've been and say, Tristan's just stuck up and Tristan's, you know, preaching all this stuff. It's all right for him because he's got X, Y, and Z. Or you can understand that I've been where you've been and I know it sucks and I know it's hard, but you have to do something anyway. Self-improvement is the cornerstone of every successful person. I've never met a single successful person who isn't trying to get better at the very least at what makes him money, let alone everything else.
Yeah. How do you inflict the perfect revenge?
I'm not a very vengeful person, Rob, believe it or not. I'm not a very vengeful person because I think true vengeance, if you really wanted to hurt people legally, you'd have to be very petty. Obviously, you could say go and shoot them, for example, but we're talking about what you can do.
You'd end up in prison,
exactly.
so that wouldn't be perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What can you do within the confines of the law? You could mess with people forever. I don't know. Let's say I hated some guy in England. I find out his house is rented. I could buy his house off the landlord for £10,000 over the value and make him move. Find his new address, buy that house, make him move. Find his new address, buy the house to the left and right of him, move a bunch of gypsies in. I could do any, like
you said you're not a vengeful person, but this is good.
I've considered these things. I've definitely considered these things. But how much of my life do I want to waste? Yeah. My amazing life to make someone whose life sucks suck a little bit more? That's the question. How much am I taking away from myself to take away a small part from them? And that's the equation that I always look at when it comes to revenge. Because these are all ideas that I've had about people. And I could do these things. Yeah, I'm not very vengeful. I think the best revenge when people have hurt me or upset me or pissed me off or ruined our friendship somehow in my life has just been success. And people say success is the best revenge, but people who aren't striving to be successful say that. And then they'll like post a photo of themselves on vacation in I don't know, Benidorm on a 250-pound all-inclusive, and they'll be like, success is the best revenge. I'm like, no, because no one cares you're in Benidorm. But the people who have upset me in my life when I was on my way up and that I disassociated with really wish that they were in Marcel's position right now, Rory's position, Nigel's position. People who have stayed close to me, because everyone benefits when one of you rises to the top, as long as you're not. So, yeah, revenge truly is, success truly is the best revenge, but you have to actually do it, which very few people do.
What are the major red flags you spot in people?
I think the red flags I spot in women and men are very different. Very different. I'd say at the position I'm currently at in life, the red flags I see in men are certainly a fanboyish kind of behavior towards me. You treat someone like a celebrity, they're going to treat you like a fan. Especially when you're sitting down and you're having a serious conversation with somebody, just by chance. You're talking to them for 10 minutes. And they're like, oh, let me call my friend. He's not going to believe this. Yeah. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, we were having a conversation. That is a huge, huge red flag. I also don't like people, men and women, who are entitled. People who think that they deserve everything else everyone else has. So to give you an example, if I'm I don't know, hanging out with somebody and I say, oh, I'm going driving tomorrow. And they're like, oh, but you've got supercars, I don't have one. And they're upset about it. Like, Rory will laugh and be like, yeah, well, I can't come driving with you because I haven't got a car. Like, he'll laugh about it. But people who feel entitled to what I've worked for, I can't stand. The major red flag in men is a man who's bad with women, a man who can't get laid. That's a huge red flag. I could leave. I was talking with my friend Justin Waller about this just a few months ago. I could leave, because the woman who has my kids is beautiful. I could leave her and my kids in their house for a year, and they wouldn't even so much as look up at her while she's walking from the bathroom in a towel. Not once. None of my friends would. Why? Because women like them and they can get their own women. When you have a guy who can't get women to like him and can't get women to speak with them, the problem that I found in life is they will confuse friendship with romantic interest. So if they've never had a beautiful woman talk to them ever, and there have been times in my life where my assistant, Georgiana, who's still my assistant, I'm not allowed to talk to her still because Romania is insane, but she's a beautiful woman, and she'll pick someone up from the airport for me. For example, this is 8-9 years ago. And then the guy will be like, oh, I think Georgiana likes me. I'm like, I know she doesn't. She's actually told me she hates you. However, She's my assistant, picking you up from the airport, making chit chat and being nice. They have so little scope and experience when it comes to females that they mistake romantic interest with someone being polite, and women just generally don't talk to them. So if Andrew has a beautiful girlfriend and she's in my house and you had one of these losers around, she'd sit and talk to them for 3 hours. Why? Because Andrew's out working and women love to talk. So they'll talk for 3 hours and then they might, make a pass at her, do something stupid. I've been in all of these circumstances in one way or another in my life. So I don't trust men. If a guy's like, oh, I can't get any girlfriends and women don't like me, what would be my advice? Especially when he looks like shit and he's out of shape and stuff, which he knows the answer to his question. I'm like, I can't have that guy around me. I have beautiful women around me in my house. My friends have wives. My friends have girlfriends. I don't need this piranha in my fish tank. So that's the major red flag in men. Women, there's loads of them. Loads.
Okay, maybe we'll come back to those.
Yeah.
So I've got something here that you've said. Andrew starts the fire. I just make sure we don't burn down. What does that mean?
When did I say that? I'm trying to think what I was referring to. This must have been,
life, maybe?
Yeah. This must have been some years ago. Andrew is a master communicator, and a lot of people mistake the things he says because they don't understand why he says things the way he says them. There's a reason, whether you hate Andrew or love Andrew, that you cannot stop seeing Andrew everywhere. And there's a reason, whether you hate him or love him, that you know who he is and you know some of the things he said, inflammatory or not. And a lot of the worst things that have been posted about me that we've said are genuinely, you could play any clip to me now and I'll tell you the context of it and make it seem a lot more tame. But Andrew says things in a certain way. And afterwards, there's a level of sitting around thinking about damage control, which is fun. But
is it fun?
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. But sometimes Andrew will be on a podcast and I'll be in the same room listening to him speak. And I'm like, I'm going back to jail, I think it's my job to keep a more level head than him.
Yeah.
He's sometimes like a bull charging at the matador,
yeah.
But he catches him. He doesn't hit the red flag. Like, it's all positive and we always move in the right direction. But yeah, sometimes it's my job to, I'm seen as the calmer, often more reasonable brother.
Is that a true reflection?
Kind of, but Andrew's very calm and reasonable himself. And he doesn't have a persona. He's not an actor. What it is, let's say 20% of his personality is hyperinflated when he goes online. There's so many aspects of mine and Andrew's life and who we are that people will never, ever see. I don't want them to see it. So Andrew is who he is online when he's online. And he is who he is online 20% of the time going about his day. But I think I am a lot more calm, and I do try to keep us out of trouble as much as I can in the way that I'm the only person Andrew will listen to. Lawyers.
The only person?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lawyers will tell him, don't say this. Literally, you'll go to jail if you keep saying this, and he'll keep saying it. Like, he doesn't care. I'm the only person who can talk to him. So in a way, it's a blessing and a curse to be in that position. Because sometimes it's not fun, but it's never an argument. It's just like, how much of our bottom line monthly is putting that particular clip on the internet right now gonna get us? Because the answer is zero. You're about to go viral. You know why you've said it the way you've said it, and you know people are gonna lose their. Does it impact our bottom line positively or negatively? The answer is always zero, nothing at all. And then he usually ends up posting it anyway. So it's fun. Yeah, it's great.
But surely at some point, it was that kind of communication that blew you guys up in the first place.
Yeah, 100%. And we've now gone through the fire. I don't know what they're going to come up with next. I genuinely believe that the powers that be are losing interest in Andrew and I, which is kind of good. With Trump coming into power and so many other dangerous people to attack, now the media says Elon's a bad guy every day and he's a Nazi and he's an unchecked psychopath. They've kind of moved away. Back in the era of the Democrat-run United States and the woke mob being in charge of everything, Andrew was arguably one of the loudest voices in the entire world. Now there's so many. And a lot of them are very brave, very, very industrious people like Elon. And a lot of them I will say unapologetically, are cowards. They're cowards in the way that they were not around when it was dangerous to say these things. Now they're on Twitter saying everything they want. It's like, yeah, I said it when I wasn't allowed and got banned on Twitter. You didn't. So everyone's based nowadays, but it was Andrew and I who certainly helped pave the way for this. So yeah, the communication style made us viral. It made us famous. And Andrew's fantastic at what he does. I'm very much the subsidiary character, and I'm perfectly happy to be that guy. I've got a bunch of controversial opinions on lots of things, and everyone knows what they are, but I don't necessarily see the benefit of rubbing them in everyone's faces, and Andrew does that for me anyway, so it's fine.
So are you completely delineated in the roles that you have within your businesses?
No, and you know what? I've tried to answer this a couple times, and my answers, I watch them back, and they're never good.
Right. You just do what's got to be done. Is
exactly.
that how it rolls?
That's basically it. And,
right.
and people have tried to dissect that, and I've given answers. I've watched them back, and I'm like, is that really accurate, or is that really true? Well, this week it wasn't. So we just both do whatever we have to do. It's simple as that. There's a certain task to be achieved.
Yeah.
It's not like, well, you're better at this, you're better at that.
Right.
We'll just both work on the task together. I guess we're a team in every way.
And what's the hardest thing you've had to change Andrew's mind about or stop him from doing? I know that you don't have too much arguments, but the hardest thing where you knew, I've got to pull rank on this.
Often he has to drag me back from things.
Right.
So the first one that came to my brain was, and it was nothing to do with Andrew. It was me telling him that we needed a super yacht, and him saying, Tristan, we're on house arrest. Why do we need a super yacht? That doesn't make any sense. And somehow we ended up buying the super yacht. And we do need it, by the way. And he agrees now.
Yeah.
So there are minor disagreements like that, but it's never been like, Andrew, definitely don't say this or don't say that.
Is that because you're the younger brother?
No, it's because I understand that. And I no longer care anymore. I've been in jail. Everyone in the world has opened criminal investigations into me. My whole past, my entire life has been completely dissected by every federal agency. I don't think they're going to shoot me. So now I don't care at all. I don't care at all what Andrew says. But there were times in the past, certainly before we went to jail, where some of his videos, I tried to, coach him out of saying certain things a certain way. And yeah, he never really listened. But I think he took it into account when those issues came up on videos and stuff. And I will sit with him and I'll say, when you're asked this by this guy, here's a very valid point. When this person brings this up, here's a very valid point. And I'll speak out loud and say answers to difficult questions that I think may come up. And then I watch him on interviews, say exactly what I said to him. So he takes my opinion into account.
Or you found a way to communicate with him well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And those are some of my, I guess, proudest moments as a brother, when I'm watching him, when someone comes up with the exact crap I know they're going to hit him with, and he says the exact answer that I was saying out loud in our cigar room because we were brainstorming. I'm like, okay, good. Andrew listens to me. It's never so much trying to hold him back. It's just always trying to be prepared for everything, and him taking the voice in his head, is mine, I think, a lot of the times, in the way that he doesn't care about anyone's opinion besides himself in terms of dictating his actions, besides maybe mine, which is a kind of cool accolade to have over somebody as powerful and influential as Andrew Tate.
And does he ever say to you, I love you?
We don't need to say it. Occasionally, almost never. I never say it back. We don't need to say it. No. It's a bit gay, Am I allowed to say that in 2025?
Well, you just have, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean, I guess
gay.
It's a bit gay. In jail, we're going to get through this. I love you, bro. Maybe that was said, but it's not like, I don't know. It's a bit gay. All my friends know I love them, and I insult them constantly. All I do is make fun of them.
And is that your way to show
love?
Call
them racist names. It's hilarious, That's the way male friendship works.
Is it really, though?
Gay
to say I love you?
Well, I saw the truest meme in the world on the internet. It said, girls to each other's faces. Oh, I love you. You're so beautiful. You're a boss. Girls behind girls' backs. She's a bitch. And it said, men to men's faces. You're a idiot. You're a loser. Nobody likes you. Men behind each other's backs. Actually, Robbie's actually a decent guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so true. And it's an alien concept to women that this is the way that a lot of men communicate with each other. But yeah, my friends and my brother know I love them. And it's spoken in actions more so than in words, you know. When they said, we're going to let you go from jail, Tristan, and Andrew will have to stay longer, I said, no, I'm going to assault a police officer. And I'll get stuck back in here, which is a true story, by the way. And I threatened the police officers. One of them, I said, you're the guy I'm going to hit because I like you, but just know I'm hitting you so you put me back. If this happens, you know, that's greater than any I love you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm a poet in actions, not in words.
If Andrew asked you to hit someone, would you just hit someone?
Immediately. I wouldn't even ask what they did.
If he asked you to?
Yeah.
You just hit them?
Yes.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to know why?
No.
Why not?
Andrew has very rarely ever asked me to hit somebody. And in confrontational and violent situations, the thinking time of should I do this or should I not is the time you can die. And I'm not interested in pondering about whether it's the right thing to do. It's there's been situations where I've seen Andrew hitting people and they're in a group and I just start hitting the other ones. I mean, I'm from Luton. I grew up rough. Certainly there's been situations where I've been hitting people and Andrew just looks who's with them and starts hitting them. It's more of a survival instinct. I'm not interested in reason and compromise once things get to that point. If someone's walking towards us and Andrew says, hit that guy, I will hit him immediately. I'll find out why afterwards, you know, but I know he's got a good reason. I know he's not sending me like some vigilante to go get himself put in jail because he disagreed with somebody online, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would hit somebody without question.
Right. And what's the sort of biggest threat, the worst fight you've both been in?
The fight against the government
physical,
of Romania.
Yeah. I mean, like a physical, because obviously there's a punch in a bar and then there's a proper fight.
No, it's always been punch ups in bars.
Right.
Andrew and I we were training our whole lives. We never got beaten up. We've never been like jumped and beaten up badly. Like we've always either escaped those situations. Like he's told the story 100 times about in Moldova when some guy hit me and we kind of negated the situation and got out of there. But yeah, we've never been in.
And you'd be okay with that. You don't have to just go throwing punches to everyone. You could use your brain and
well,
think.
Well, in Moldova, there was about 35, 40 of them.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is unwinnable. So I started speaking Romanian at them.
Yeah.
Saying, look, man, I'm going home. I'm not a tourist. I'm just leaving.
Yeah.
And then half of them were kind of like, whoa, he's not some foreigner that we need to beat up.
Yeah.
And we kind of like negotiated the situation and got in the car and
right.
left. That was probably the closest Andrew and I got to getting our asses kicked because you can't fight 40 men. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
Men who are willing to fight like these guys were. But if I could meet those guys now, I'd buy them a drink. Cool guys.
Yeah. Why are they cool?
Why? Because they were furious that there was 2 Americans walking around their city with 3 beautiful women. They're from Moldova. These are beautiful Moldovan women. What are they doing walking around my city with beautiful women? They're definitely here to fuck chicks. And they were right. So of course they're going to swing for me. I like that patriotism in them that made them think there's 2 foreigners walking around with our women. Let's go beat them up. I kind of respect that. Yeah. And I think the world needs a bit more of that hostility, that xenophobia, that national pride. That was kind of cool. And if they reached out to me now and saying, hey, I'm the guy with the white BMW X5 who punched you in the face, I'd be like, cool, man, let me buy you a beer. I like you know? Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But yeah, we've never been in that dangerous of a situation. We're pretty decent fighters. We grew up in the age before everyone had a knife. And we got in a bunch of punch-ups, but we always came out on top.
Yeah. UK versus Dubai. At least once a week, an entrepreneur friend of mine fucks off from the UK and comes here.
Yeah.
And the taxes are getting ridiculous in the UK and there aren't many here. UK versus Dubai.
It's a no-brainer. If taxes were the same, prices were the same, real estate was the same, quality of life was the same, but all England had was its crime epidemic. That's like saying beautiful Victoria's Secret model and beautiful Victoria's Secret model with AIDS. Which one are you sleeping with? It's that binary of a choice. Isn't it? Surely. You're saying there's a risk if I live my life in England and do everything the same. Forget taxes. Forget all of it. There's a risk of death when I send my kids to dance classes. No thanks. I am not interested. I don't care how many runway shows she's done. Once I see HIV positive on that piece of paper, I'm not doing it. And that's England to me in a nutshell. And that's an analogy I've used with friends and family. And I've given, and people, I mean, do you disagree?
No.
There we go. Like it's a very good analogy.
So you're not even far enough up the food chain to look at the taxes and
nowhere near.
No.
That's an example of everything's the same. Now we're talking Victoria's Secret model, who's a virgin with no sexual past and no risk of diseases, versus fat, overweight Geordie chick with bad acne and obviously fake hair extensions and bitten down fingernails with AIDS. Like, we're not talking equal playing field, but there's one caveat. There's one turd in the punch bowl. We're talking about a whole punch bowl full of turds against delicious fruit punch. That's what we're talking about here. So that analogy is very good, all things remaining equal. But things aren't equal in any way. So if you want to add the taxes and the prices, well, no, Dubai can be quite expensive. I don't.
Yeah, but at least you get to choose what you spend your money on. They take it all at source in the UK.
Exactly.
But drivers here are really cheap.
Yeah.
You can basically have a load of people serving you for not much money.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. And I like Dubai very much. And that's how black and white the choice is for me. When are you moving?
It's funny because Andrew asked me that yesterday and everybody here has asked me that.
And you're thinking about it, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Don't catch AIDS, but don't catch
AIDS.
AIDS.
No, I mean that analogy is going to stay.
Yeah,
there.
think about it. You just said, or maybe it was off camera, but you just said a 14-year-old boy, the same age as my son, had his head stomped in at a shopping center.
Yeah.
He can't go to a shopping center. The moment my child is old enough to competently catch a bus by themselves, they can go to the shopping center in Dubai. Once they're 9, if they wanted to, they could go to a mall by themselves and be perfectly safe. That's something you don't get.
No.
In the Western world. We talk about England, France, Spain's getting that way. Germany's certainly that way. It's gotten that bad everywhere.
Yeah.
Romania is a fat, ugly chick who doesn't have AIDS. You know? It's nice enough. Nothing bad's going to happen. Wear your nice watch, drive your nice car. Sure, the infrastructure sucks and, there's government level corruption that can screw you, like it tried to screw me, All right, it's a fat, ugly chick with chlamydia. That's Romania. But it sure beats it sure beats the one with AIDS. So I'd rather live in Romania than England, hands down. So
you're just going to take in this moment.
I think these are perfectly valid analogies. I'm probably going to get attacked for this.
Well, that doesn't bother you, does it?
Oh, no, not at all. It's fine.
Right, so I'm going to read something you said about the UK.
Go ahead.
I will never move back to the UK unless someone saves it from itself. It's a toxic environment.
Yes.
Why?
When I say saves it from itself, what I mean is the people there don't care about the country's best interests. And you'll see people in England waving signs when the boats are coming in on the shore, being like, "You're welcome here," a bunch of middle-aged men. And I'm like, why do you cry and call out for the destruction of your country so badly? America also has this problem. But Trump came along with such an overwhelmingly positive message, he swayed enough of the American population to put him into the office, which means you can ignore the losers. The losers who want all the people crossing over the southern border, you can ignore them because you can't now because there's the military there. It took, 1 hour to close the border after he became the president. It's that easy. And when I say I need someone to save the UK from itself, I look at the political parties before reform, because I am quite a big reform supporter. And I look at the Liberal Democrats and I look at the Conservatives and I look at the Labour Party and I look at everything they say. I'm like, I don't even have anyone to vote for here. I don't have anyone that I can even vote for that will remotely start to undo the damage to England that's been done over the last quarter of a century, arguably longer. So when I say it needs someone to save it from itself, I mean someone with radical new ideas, who's willing to be disliked, who's willing to ignore the people who cry about stupid issues. Because right now, England, for me, is just not a livable environment, especially when you're a publicly known person. I can't walk around London and feel safe and secure. Why is that? London should be the greatest city in the world. We had the world's largest empire. All of the wealth from all over the world flowed into one single city for 180 years. And you're telling me now if I walk down the street, someone's going to put a knife in my heart? And people will joke, oh, it's not that bad. It literally happens almost every day.
Machetes.
It happens almost every day. And people who live in London will be like, well, I've never seen any of that. Yes, I know. London's got, 8 million people? But it does happen every day. It hasn't happened to you. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know? It's like if you went to Colombia and started sleeping with prostitutes and came back and be like, well, I didn't get AIDS. Well, you're lucky. But you shouldn't think that's a safe environment to put your whatever in, you know?
Yeah.
So it happens in England all the time. And especially in my hometown, Luton, which is incredibly violent and incredibly run down. Until someone gets hard on the assholes who are trying to ruin the country and someone comes along with a radical new idea, I wouldn't feel safe having my daughter or my girlfriend in England. God forbid you send her to a Taylor Swift dance class. That sounds like the safest day in the world, doesn't it? And we all know what happened with that retard, Axel Rudakabana. That sounds like the safest thing you can do. I'm going to work to provide for my family. What's your wife and child doing today? They're going to a Taylor Swift dance class. If you had to bet 50 years ago on the chances of a knife-wielding maniac putting a knife through your daughter's spine and killing her at a Taylor Swift dance class, you'd quite safely bet 0%. But the odds are no longer 0% in England. So how can I, in good faith, as a father, whose job it is to protect my children, live in that country? Maybe way out in the countryside somewhere. Maybe with a bunch of armed security. But I'd rather just be somewhere where I don't need that. So I'm not moving back yet.
No.
We'll see what happens in the next general election. Go Nigel, you know?
You think he's got a chance, Nigel?
I wasn't sure.
He crushed
until
the locals, didn't
the council elections.
Crushed them.
And when I saw that, I was like, okay. After the last election, he got his foot in the door, and now the door is swinging wide open. As long as he doesn't fumble it, I don't like the arguments with Rupert Lowe. I don't like the bid.
There's always infighting.
There's always infighting.
Parties, yeah.
But if I was them, I'd have kept it all behind closed doors and said, let's just shut the fuck up for 4 more years, you know?
Yeah.
Let's deal with it later. But no politician is perfect.
No.
I don't think, just like with police officers and a few other jobs, the type of people who want to be politicians typically aren't necessarily my type of people. They're very necessary people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is a very different animal because he's not from the world of politics. But the type of people who want a career in politics aren't necessarily my type of people.
No.
Same as the people who want a career in the police force, not necessarily my type of people. So I don't look at politicians looking for the perfect guy, because there is no perfect guy, and everyone's human and everyone's fallible. But I believe that England can at least try to start some kind of road to recovery if there's drastic change. And drastic change comes in the form right now of Nigel Farage and his Reform Party. And I really do wish them all the best. And once my name is clear, which it will be by the end of this year, completely clear, especially once I win in Florida, I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure every young man out there, the people who typically don't vote and who have given up on politics, casts a ballot for the Reform Party and gets them in. That's what I see as the least I can do for my home country, which I'm very proud of. I saw the council elections and I was like, maybe
it was crushed.
Maybe he's got a chance.
It.
And with the English system, you only need a slight vote advantage above the other parties to win an overwhelming majority. And if he has an overwhelming majority of people who are going to do exactly as he says, then great. Oh, the European Bill of Human Rights, let's get rid of this. People will protest, but as I said with Donald Trump, you can ignore the idiots. What do you mean? You're taking away my human rights? No, we're taking away people's right to just show up here and say you can't deport them anymore. That's what we're doing, you know? There's a Trojan horse in this bill, and we need to burn the whole horse down to kill the soldiers inside. Yeah. So when they do put that up in the Commons, hopefully in 3 years' time, and every single Reform member says, yep, we'll pull out the European Bill of Human Rights and get rid of it. I don't want any part of that. Yeah. I will be clapping.
Yeah.
And I hope he pulls it off, but God knows.
Do you think it's going to be difficult because, they're basically a startup? I mean, I've been in the offices.
Yeah.
I know the chairman, know Nigel very well. Interviewed now most of them. They are a little baby startup. Their office is about the size of this room.
But their message has resonated with enough people. they may be a little baby startup, but as compared to 2 years ago, when maybe not a lot of people in the UK knew exactly who the Reform Party were and what they stood for, now everybody knows who they are. It doesn't matter. Andrew and I, when we got famous, were just two men with a camera. You can be two men with a camera and you can influence the entire world. And I've proven that. And with what the Reform Party are doing and the ideas that they have, of which I don't like all of them, but I like a lot of them.
No one's going to like everything.
Exactly. They've really, I think, touched the hearts of every British patriot in a way. And they've woken the British patriot up to the idea that there is another option. There are no longer people sitting like I was saying, can't vote for these three idiots. It's like, well, this guy, he seems okay. Let's give him a chance. So it doesn't matter how many people with the age of the internet and podcasts and things like this. It doesn't matter how big their office is. It doesn't matter how much money they have. It matters if people will vote for them. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Well, I saw Nigel post recently. He's got more followers on TikTok than every other MP that exists.
Exactly. There we go.
And what are they not seeing?
There we go.
Have you ever seen Labour's social media?
No, you know what? I've never even seen it, which proves that nobody cares about their message because people naturally share things.
Well, and algorithms show you stuff.
I mean, I saw a clip of Nigel Farage eating a cheese sandwich in a pub. I was like, yeah, I can resonate with that. You know?
Yeah.
And then that Nigerian lady, Kemi Badenoch, she said one of her tweets went viral and she was like, oh, you know, I work so hard as the leader of the Conservative Party. I don't often have time for lunch, so I just have steak sent up to my office. And she thinks that resonates with the common British man. Steak? This woman's talking about steak being sent to her office, so she's such a hard worker, I should respect her. Most people in England can't eat steak. People are using food banks. Is this woman, is she stupid, is my question. Whereas Nigel Farage is sitting there eating a cheese sandwich in the pub, goes super viral. No, I super like him, and I think the common British man can relate to him.
But what about Bruv?
The Bruv Party is a project that Andrew is taking very, very seriously. I think that
It's a legitimate party.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
And again, we got more followers on social media and more email signups to our email list than some of the major parties in a very short period of time. Bruv right now is a political vehicle that's evolving into a political party. If England is still in the state it's in 2 or 3 elections from now, Andrew Tate in his 50s, when all of our fans, every young man in the world, by the way, is our fan. It's not a small fan base, has grown up, and they are the voting adults. When Andrew comes along in his 50s and wants to make an actual go for it and become PM, is it winnable and is it a viable project? Potentially, yes. As of right now, that we have so many other fires to put out and so many other issues going on in our life, it's definitely not going to be ready by the next general election. However, we control the political interests of many, many, many of England's youngsters and England's young men. I would argue, and I don't know the statistic, this isn't a fact, that many young men in the United Kingdom probably only follow the Bruv Party and they don't follow Reform or Conservative or Liberal Democrat or Green or anything else. So I control the political interests of so many of the UK's youth that in 3 years, if I'm happy with them, I can tell everybody who listens to me to go out there and vote for Reform. I can. But if England is still on it's on the path to destruction, some argue it's already destroyed and it's already too far gone. That's an argument that holds a lot of water. If it's still bad later on down the line, in the 2030s, then yes, absolutely, it will become what it was originally founded to be, and Andrew will make a shot at it because Andrew's very good at everything he tries, and he also gets bored easily. And a couple more years like this, I'll have enough money to never need to work again. So why not try to become Prime Minister? We'll see what he does. But he's got my full support either way.
Yeah. Silver has crashed. It's back to its price in 1974, and I'm going to buy more. And if you'd like to learn how to invest and build multiple streams of recurring income, I recommend you join Money.School. Money.school is my global financial education platform to help as many people on this planet get better financial knowledge. For less than 4 Starbucks coffees a month, there are hundreds of hours of courses, resources, and masterclasses going back a decade to teach how to make, manage, and multiply money and gain financial freedom. So join thousands of other money and freedom seekers on the link money.school and start today your journey to financial freedom and more money. Are you suing the BBC for $1 billion?
I don't know who I'm suing, but the list is as long as my arm. I'm suing a lot of people. So yeah, probably. Probably. The thing is, when I said about pettiness and revenge, pettiness takes up your time, you know? I have a team of high-powered lawyers. Sue this person, they said this. Sue this person, they said this. All these lawsuits are starting. All these people are panicking, getting letters to their house. These court cases are definitely going ahead. Yeah. I don't know who I'm suing. But the moment I see one mistake, oh, you missed the word allegedly. Ooh, you said he's a rapist. You didn't say allegedly? Boom, sue him. Anyone worth suing. So yeah, I'm gonna sue loads of people just because I think it's funny.
But so is it not for your brand, your reputation, a fiscal?
No,
just because it's fun?
I get that in September. Once the Romanian case closes and I get my piece of paper in September saying that this person falsely accused Tristan and Andrew, the only person who's ever accused us of anything bad. As I said, oh, they've got 20 victims. Oh, yeah, the mother of my kid is a victim. You know why she's a victim? Because there are large financial transactions between us. That's what was submitted to the judge to try to put me back in jail. Large financial transactions? You mean paying for my child's life? Like, that's not real. Her accusation, although disprovable by CCTV, her own words, is a real accusation. That's it. No one else has ever accused me of anything. So once I have that piece of paper to wave around, I don't care what people think. You know?
You really don't.
When I'm out of the hot water, which I basically am now, I'm out of the hot water. People can pretend I'm in hot water. As I said, I don't care who's doing paperwork about me. I'm in my $5 million car on my way to meet Rob Moore that I'm going for dinner. I'm out of hot water. But if there's some guy on the internet typing, Tristan's a human trafficker, good. I'm glad he thinks I'm a human trafficker because it makes him more upset with his life because I'm free, living my life, I'm rich, everything's great. Good. He could think I'm a human trafficker. In fact, I want him to. I joked saying I'm going to get business cards saying Tristan Tate, human trafficker. And the funny thing is, if I hand them out to beautiful women, I'll get more calls back than any of these guys who dislike me with their business card listing their real profession. So I don't care if they think I'm a human trafficker. I've been gifted this reputation of like this gangster, but I'm not. But the fact that people believe it, I'm like, this is kind of cool. You know, sometimes you sit down, you see people at tables whispering, probably, oh, it's those guys, those kidnappers. They got out of jail. Those rich guys who kidnap people. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool in a way, you know? It's kind of cool. I said to Andrew, our very good friend, a man I really respect a lot, Michael Francis, was an actual bona fide mafia capo. Literally. He did 9 years in jail. And he's a born-again Christian, a real patriot, great guy now, living clean as a whistle. But he's got a super cool aura about him. And it comes from, one, who he is, and two, the reputation around him. That's that mafia guy. That's what people say when he walks in the room.
Yeah.
You can't buy that. I was gifted it because I'm not actually a criminal. But people will literally, oh, that's the guy who runs that organized criminal gang. I'm like, yeah, okay, thanks. But like, it's not like I've said I am. Like, I'm not trying to fake it till I make it, or like, I'm not trying to make people think I am. In fact, all I do is explain why I'm not a criminal. But that reputation is kind of cool. And that's a present that's been thrown at me. You know, when I speak to women, they're like, oh, I saw you on the internet. I said, oh, did you hear I kidnap people? Don't worry, I only kidnap blondes. You're safe. And she's brunette. And she'll laugh and smile and come back to my house. Like, it doesn't affect me negatively. It's kind of cool and sexy. So thanks, Romania and the prosecutor and this girl. Thanks for that, I guess. It's interesting.
Yeah. Would you say you're one of the richest people alive without a bank account?
I did say that on a podcast once. And then the internet detectives came along and they were like, we can't find how much money Tristan has. Oh, nothing's listed. And that's what he's definitely broke. I'm like, that was the point of what I said. The fact that I don't have banks. Why you're snooping around, you can't find money in banks and you're telling me I'm poor. Like there's levels of being wealthy that you can't fake. We only fly on private jets. A one-way flight from Romania to the United States is $200,000. When I fly back to Romania one way $65,000, $70,000 on the big planes I fly on. There's levels of having money that you can't fake.
Yeah.
I think that the Bugatti Andrew bought a couple of years ago was very integral to our brand because it was a $5 million car with our name stitched into the headrests. I've still got it. It clearly wasn't rented. That's what made people realize, okay, these guys actually know something and they are earning money. That's now one of 6 cars that we have that's over $5 million in value.
Right.
When I'm back in Romania soon, because I plan to go back, I'll be driving my $2.1 million DB5 around from 1963. Like, you can't fake those things. So am I one of the richest men in the world without a bank account? Maybe not. I don't know how the billionaires and the oil sheiks set up their life. I don't know if they actually have personal checking accounts or not.
Yeah.
I said it as a normal person. Every normal person has a bank. It's a rite of passage into becoming an adult. You're 15, 16, you open your bank account, you get your first debit card, you feel like an important adult. In terms of just normal people, I have to be up there. I have to be up there because I have a lot of money. So, and that's evident by just my lifestyle. So yeah, and I still don't have a bank and I don't want one anymore. I'm fine. I've learned to live without one. I don't want a bank anymore.
Well, it's control, isn't it?
Yeah. The banks. What's going to happen? I'm going to put money in a bank.
And then they're going to
someone's going to make up some accusation about me, the UK probably, saying I'm a money launderer and just hold the money for years. Screw you. I'll keep my money somewhere safe. Where is that? I'm not going to say on this podcast.
And I would never ask.
Exactly.
That's just it. I wouldn't ask about your kids. I wouldn't ask about that.
But you're a smart man and you can guess. But my money is safe. So leave me alone. In fact, my actual argument is, on the flip side, I don't have any money. Because in a way...
Because broke people trying to look for where rich people's money is, that is a hilarious
paradox. That's a hilarious paradox.
Because they don't know how to hide it away. It's like a lot of people say to me, oh, you don't own that many properties. How would you ever know? Exactly.
Rob Moore may not own them on paper. You don't understand the way rich people do things. You don't understand it at all. You know, people believe that someone's net worth means they have that much money in the bank. Like Elon Musk puts in his debit card and sees 400 billion, 400 with 9 zeros at the end. Like people don't understand money at all. And then they'll be like, this car isn't under Tate's name. My name is stitched into the seat. Whose car do you think it is? In fact, I upset a detective from Romania. I saw the hurt on this guy's face. I may as well tell this story. I'm not scared of these people anymore. They got no more bullets left to fire at me. So they come to my house, steal all my cars. Everyone knows the story. They held my cars for years. I only got those first cars back, the Rolls Royce, the Aston. I only got them back a few weeks ago. They held those cars for 2.5 years, right? They came for the second raid. They took a bunch of cars, including my Lada, went viral. And I said to him in my living room, I know the guy well. He's raided my house every time, and he's one of the sticklers who really wants to catch me doing crimes for some reason. Looks through my underwear. I'm like, yeah, you're a tough guy. Looking through another man's underwear. Great, good for you. I said to him, those cars aren't mine. You're going to have to give those cars back. But he already had his papers. He was like, but in Romania, those cars are being upgraded and wrapped and stuff, and you're doing that. So why are you doing that on cars that aren't yours? I said, did I pay the invoice for the upgrades? Was that me, Tristan Tate, who paid the invoice? Knowing it wasn't me. I don't even have a bank. And he's like, oh, we'll see. Go to court. Judge gives me all my cars back immediately. So he had taken there's a Ducati motorcycle in my house, and he'd taken the key out of it because they had smashed the door in so badly and they couldn't get in that the door was broken. So first he's like, I need to take this motorcycle. I said, well, take it. But the door doesn't open. I said, you broke it. You could have rung the doorbell. I would have let you in. You decided to be a tough guy and smash my door in. Now the motorcycle can't leave. This is a you problem. I'm not going to help you steal from me. So he has this motorcycle key. I have his number. So as soon as the judge says I can have all my stuff back, I message him directly. I said, hey, bro, riding the motorcycle this weekend. When can I come take the key? And he said, well, I guess you can come tomorrow at 9 a.m. to the office. So I go into the DCOT office and I say, hey, judge gave me all the cars back. I told you they'd give them back. They're not mine. And he goes, oh, here's the key. And because he's obviously upset with his life, he went, yes, but I mean, these cars are back in your possession, but they're not your cars. They're not in your name. This is why the judge gave them back. And I said his name, but I'm going to use bro instead of his name. I said, bro, the first time you nicked all my cars, you still have them because they were in my name. Did you really think I was going to let you do that to me again? Yes, They are my cars. And you know they are. Give me my key. And the look on his face just dropped. He handed me this bike key. And I was like, yeah, see you later. So yeah, rich people don't have everything in their name. So if you were to financially audit me now, technically, I'm worth zero. Don't own a thing. And I like it that way. But I am also very rich. Because it is my stuff at the end of the day.
Yeah. And when was the first time in your life you actually felt you rich? Like, what did you buy or where were you when you were like, yeah, and this is proper rich?
Actually, you rich? I remember feeling rich because I could do certain things, buy certain things, drive a certain car. There's a clip that went viral, and I'll reference it, where my brother and my cousin were in London, and we went for the most expensive coffee in London, that cat poo coffee. Totally overrated, rubbish, $50 a cup. And we're drinking this expensive coffee, and we're opposite a Rolls-Royce garage. And yeah, it must have been 5 years ago now. And we walked past, and I was like, I like that blue Rolls-Royce, looks nice. And he was like, I don't really like Rolls-Royces. And I was like, yeah, but I kind of like it. And we walked in and just put it on the debit card, back when I had banks.
Yeah.
And drove it away the next day. And I was like, that's insane. That cost me 500 and something thousand pounds. I don't even remember the price. I just knew that whatever that car costs, I can just get it with money that's in my bank, let alone the wealth I have elsewhere. That's when I first realized I was actually rich. Because a Rolls Royce, if you are a 50-year-old man and you have your house paid off and you drive a secondhand Rolls Royce Wraith, people in your neighborhood, especially where I'm from, will say that's a successful guy. That's a rich guy. So for me at 31 years of age to just be, oh yeah, I want one. I already had 40 other cars by then and just buy one for no reason. The police held it for 2.5 years. It's probably worth 200 grand now. Like
the Rolls Royce, yeah.
But I don't really care.
Yeah.
But that was the first time that I realized that I had made it, I guess. Because millionaire used to be a big thing. I'm like, that's only 2 of these cars. Millionaire net worth. That's the first time I felt very rich.
Do you not value things less now you can just buy cars without even thinking about it?
No, it's good because my superpower is I never really valued money that much. I was the guy who'd get paid £250 on a Thursday. And on Friday, if my friends were broke, I'd spend it all on the weekend. Oh, I'll buy the drinks. And then once my money was gone, it was like, okay, let me try and find a way to stay alive now. But I never really cared. I was never that guy. I've always been relatively financially irresponsible, which is a superpower if you're smart enough to wake up every morning thinking, I need to earn more money. And my net worth only blew up once the amount of money I had coming in was greater than my spending habits of buying everything I like. But I still buy everything I like kind of now. I'm still like, I had a meeting the other day and somebody told me that they're opening a Ralph Lauren residences here in Dubai and they're going to start building it. I'm like, ooh, I want one of those. Like, do I really need to spend $15 million on another apartment? I have places to live, but I just want it. So I might buy one. So it's tricky. I think my financial irresponsibility has always numbed me to that because I've always seen money as just something that isn't that valuable. I'd rather have a good time with my friends than have money in my wallet. I'd rather live my life, and it's the same now.
So, I mean, they say money exaggerates your traits. So you're just doing the same thing when you were broke, but now you're fucking rich.
Basically, yeah. I was doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If I wanted something that was, $5,000, and Andrew and I famously bought our first supercar. It was £60,000. We had £60,001 in our bank. Like, that was it.
Well, didn't he spend all your money on a Hublot? Didn't he buy?
Yes,
it?
also, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We just never cared. And it's fine if you make it. If you end up, with your life falling to shit.
Because that can be dangerous.
You can look back and be like, Because the truth of the matter is, when you the way I think about things, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, there is a set amount of money that everybody is going to make in their life. You are going to make a finite number of pounds while you're alive. That is it. So am I. So is Andrew. So is he. So is the barman who works here. There's a set number of pounds you're going to make. I want that to be as high as possible. So I'm not trying to spread that around throughout my life and compromising on enjoying myself. A lot of people in the first world, the set amount of money they're going to make in their life may well only be £1 million for a full life of work.
Wow.
And I'm like,
can you spend that on?
Imagine you can't then spend 50 grand because when you're older or when you need something later, you think, oh, well, that was You only have one shot at it, so you have to increase your income.
Yeah. So did you buy your private jet, buy your yacht? You buy those, do you?
No, Andrew bought a plane once that we almost never used and sold. We bought it. It was in Bucharest. We drove to Spain. We needed to fly from Spain to England. Andrew probably told you this story. Then we had to find a crew to get on the plane in Bucharest and pay for it to fly to Spain. I was like, this is stupid. Let's just charter a plane. And I will never own a private jet again.
Because of the ongoing hassle of owning them.
There's a use case for it. Yeah. If you need to be in, 2 different cities every day and you live in America, if you're Elon, if you're Trump, good.
Yeah.
I completely get why you have one. I'll take a flight a month, maybe. Sometimes 2 flights a month. Yeah. What's the point? The yacht I did buy. Yeah. It's under construction right now. It launches in 2027 at this rate.
Right. And why did you buy that?
Because I feel like there's a lot more of a use case for a yacht than a plane. So I thought, when I travel around Europe, I'll rent a big villa in Monaco. Then I'll rent a big villa in Marbella.
Yeah.
Then I'll rent a big villa in, somewhere in Italy, Trieste. Then I'll rent a big villa in Corsica. I'll rent a big villa in Turkey. If I want to do the Mediterranean, why not just have all my clothes, all my shoes, all my stuff, all my cigarette lighters on my 8-bedroom yacht? And I'll just live in the marina because I no longer need to rent villas. So I kind of justified it in my brain like, if I'm doing the European summer, I can just live on that boat. Captain on board of Marbella, take me to Cannes, sorry. And then off you go.
Yeah.
And then 24 hours later, you wake up and you're in your new city. You're in the marina, one of the safest places in any city in the world. And your house is there, essentially.
Yeah.
Whereas a plane doesn't work that way. So the yacht, I think I'm going to really enjoy.
And is it true you're planning on building a Tate Tower here in Dubai?
Talks are ongoing, and it very well could happen. That's what I'll say.
Can you say any more?
I cannot say who I'm speaking to.
I don't need to know that.
But the towers...
What's the plan for it? Can you share the vision? Why?
I could say that the towers have already been approved for construction, but it's all about branding deals. So let's say there's a tower that I own a property in. It's built by a man named Mohammed bin Ghati. The bin Ghati family are very big property developers over here. It's called the Jacob & Co. Tower. So Jacob & Co., Jacob is a famous jeweler who makes watches. Everyone knows he makes watches and custom jewelry pieces. So they have this tower being built that looks like a giant jeweled crown on top. All the interiors are designed in the Jacob & Co. kind of style and kind of way. But obviously that's a man building a tower, the bin Ghati family, who's very smart, taking Jacob's vision for his brand, collaborating, and branding the tower as the Jacob & Co. Tower. And, full respect to Jacob & Co. as a company, but they're not actually building the tower.
Of course. Not developers.
It's a branding deal. Now, Dubai's getting to the point where new concepts are hard to think of things to do here. They're building the Damac lagoons. That looks epic. They're recreating places like Venice and Marbella here in Dubai. That's going to be incredible. But branded deals are what they're looking for. And there are people smart enough and brave enough in this country who I think may well roll the dice on the next project that they're building. Foundations have already been laid. That's already been approved as the Tate Tower.
Yeah.
And if that happens, I'll be incredibly happy and proud of myself because I've built a brand strong enough, just like Jacob from Jacob & Co. did, that somebody that serious wishes to put my name and my logo on the tower. So that is, it's a very real possibility, yes. As we speak right now, it very well could happen.
Do you allow yourself to get excited about that?
No. I don't allow myself to get excited about much. If it happens, good. I'm quite happy every day. Like when I was on house arrest, everyone's like, oh, how's house arrest? I'm like, wake up, gym, lay out by the pool in the sun, work on my laptop, girlfriend comes over. Life's fine. And it's like, well, what are you going to do when you're free? I'm like, I don't think about that. I don't think about, I can't wait to do this, can't wait to do that. I don't get excited about the future. I plan the future and things will either work out or they won't.
Yeah.
But in my case, they tend to work out. So you may be watching this in a year's time and there may be, people might be posting photos of the now under construction Tate Tower in the comments. But we're not talking to one tower. We're talking to 4. So increases my odds.
Do you think you're quite happy spending big money because you have a recurring income-based business model?
Absolutely. If I had, up to this point in my life, never made any money and I'd won a $5 million scratch card, for example, I wouldn't do what I do now.
No, because you lose it all and you're not getting it back.
Because you lose it all and you're not getting it back. No, you need to build a brand, a life, a company, a business. You need to build something that puts new money into your bank every month. You absolutely have to.
And was that an intentional thing behind the Real World?
Well,
by the way, is it the Real World and university.com, is it the same thing?
It's the same thing, but branded differently.
Yeah. Was that an intentional move?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the Real World, they started...
Because you could run big events, you could fill stadiums, and you could run big events.
And I'm probably going to. But I think that if you are serious about getting rich and serious about making money, unless you're a criminal, you're looking for a way to make a business that pays you constantly. I think that's really the only way to do it. Unless you're a gambler or, as I said, a criminal who wants to go rob a bank, very few smart people who want to increase their net worth and increase their wealth think, I'm going to do this one thing once, it's going to make me that much money and I'm done.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a natural way things play out. If you're serious about earning money, you end up with companies and owning shares and stocks, and it's all paying you dividends and money. And you're like, oh, okay, well now I have money coming into my bank every month.
Yeah, but you have, yes, I understand that. But there are many business models that there is no guarantee of any money next month.
Yeah.
And yours there is, because you have contracts.
That is true.
You have people who are paying monthly.
Yes.
You have hundreds of, I don't know the numbers, maybe you could help us, but hundreds of thousands of people, I assume.
Hundreds of thousands.
And you'll know the lifetime client value of each one of those on average. So you get one new member, they might be there 3 years. You've essentially got a 3-year guaranteed income contract.
Well, kind of. From a personal perspective, business is also about self-improvement. 2 years ago, there was no AI campus inside of the school. Why would there be? People had only just heard of the concept. The work we put into continuously honing our product and making sure it's cutting edge and up to date is a continuous thing. So you can look at it and say, he's going to use the product for a year. So it's not $49 you're getting from him. You're getting almost $600 from this subscriber, for example, for this student who studies inside of the real world. I don't look at it that way. I think, okay, he signed up. Of course, $49. He needs to be getting value out of this so he doesn't leave. So I'm putting in the work every day anyway. And that's how I keep him for a year. That's no different to the contractor who needs a new construction site to work on, going around and pitching his services as a bricklayer. I'm still trying to sell the product, even to the people who've already bought it, to retain my students, which is why it's such a fantastic product as well. So you could look at it one way or the other, but it's not like it's not a simple product like, let's say, a VPN service where they subscribe, they use it every single month, or YouTube Premium. It has its features, they subscribe, you get the same features every month. It's constant work to keep the product cutting edge. So yeah, you could see it one way or the other, but I'm constantly trying to make sure my students are happy.
Yeah. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years. In fact, I don't know if you remember, but this show used to be called Disruptive Entrepreneur. Interviewed hundreds of entrepreneurs here. In fact, most of my friends are entrepreneurs. One of them who's been a friend for 20 years is Daniel Priestley, who's the founder of ScoreApp. So if you want consistent leads and sales and you're an entrepreneur, you need to listen to this. Because Daniel Priestley has built this amazing tool and it helps entrepreneurs attract leads at scale online using interactive assessments and quizzes. ScoreApp turns your traffic into a steady stream of qualified leads day and night. It's like having a lead generation machine working 24/7, 365, so you can focus on growing your business. So if you go right now to scoreapp.com/Rob, you can use a ready-made template or an AI on ScoreApp, and you can get your first leads attracted within the next 60 minutes. Go right now to scoreapp.com/Rob. Tristan, how do you sell anything to anyone?
Well, you don't sell anything to anyone. I think that you have to have something you believe in or something that is credible. Who was the British businessman 30 years ago went completely bust because he said at a business conference that he sells crap to people?
My friend Gerald Ratner.
Yeah. So God bless him, but he knew he was selling crap and it didn't last forever because he used those words, I believe. You sell complete shite, I think was his exact words. And, people will buy complete shite, but it all depends on how seriously you want your brand to be taken. I could, saying no names, sell a poisonous, sugary drink and walk around with a can of it everywhere I go. But I don't want to do that. I want to sell things that I believe in. So it's very easy for me because I only sell things I believe in. Even with the new tequila brand I just launched, the team I'm working with, I made them fly to Mexico and back 4 times to my house in Romania where I was arrested. And I was like, nope, not happy with this, back to Mexico. I won't sell anything that I don't believe in. So I am a good salesman. I can do the whole sell me this coffee, sell me this pen, sell me this. I can do that. But this coffee is actually, to be fair, pretty good. Do you want to buy some? I'm joking. But I could do that nonsense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think you can sell anything to anyone. And there are different types of sales, and different people are good at different things. It sounds like such a cop out. You know, some people are very good hard closers. Some people make fantastic car salesmen. Yeah, it has to be something you like and that you've got a vested interest in people using and enjoying. I think that's the cornerstone of any successful sales career.
But even if you have something that you believe in, the world might not know about it. You got to get it out there to the world.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true.
You did some advertising selling, I believe.
TV advertising.
Yeah.
I did windows, like most young men from Luton.
Perfect.
Yeah, they cycle through every young man in the whole town, Anglian windows, and they see who could sell and who can. I was very good.
Some of our best young lads came from double glazing.
There is no harder job than having no money in your pocket, no money for petrol, and walking around knocking on doors, hoping that someone who already has windows and doors is going to buy windows and doors. And knowing that if you don't get someone to give you a check with a deposit and go back to the office with it, that you're getting paid zero for your day, it creates, it builds character. And that was my introduction into sales. And I moved on to telephone sales, which is a lot more comfortable. Is telephone sales dying? It must still exist in some ways.
We still do it a lot.
Yeah.
We're using AI agents for the sort of the less warm leads.
Yes.
And people are responding less on the phone, but it's still a thing for now.
Yeah, for now it's still a thing. But I went from selling Windows television advertising was my thing. I was selling TV advertising, which you can't sell today because besides massive blue chip companies, who buys it? I mean, if you're a business and you've got £50,000 in your budget, you're not going to allocate 25,000 of those pounds to get a TV ad. Back in the day, you could sell them on the effectiveness of it, and you could also sell them on the feeling of accomplishment you get from it. You know, people would get their little schedule with all the times their advert's going to show, get their family, sit around the TV. Hey, look, there's the advert, and they'd really enjoy it. So you could sell it in lots of different ways. You couldn't sell TV advertising nowadays. The best viral commercials that are created. I mean, I just created an advert for my Talisman tequila that was filmed right here. I filmed another one upstairs that's going to go live before this podcast goes out.
Yeah.
That's a cameraman and just me talking, and it can go on the internet and get millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of views. To buy that on TV would cost you a pretty penny. So TV advertising is dead. But yeah, I miss those days.
And what did you learn knocking on doors selling windows?
Get back behind the fence if a dog's barking. I got bit by a dog once. I found out how lonely some housewives were, if you know what I'm saying. You know, young, strapping lad, 20 years of age, had a six-pack back then, you know.
That was your strategy, was it?
Some rich guy's off at home. He's got this 32-year-old wife at home. That happened twice. You're asking what I learned sales-wise. These are important life lessons, you know? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, all true. What did I learn sales-wise? You know, one of my greatest powers, because I wasn't a hard closer. I was not a hard closer at all. I would sell on the idea that I'm not a commission-only salesperson, and I was kind of willing to walk away. And I would just give people the best price I could do. By the way, if you're buying windows from someone who knocks on your door, take that price he first gives you and cut it in half, and that's what he can do it for. By the way, industry secret. And I just gave people good prices. I didn't try to scalp people. I was always very honest. They were like, what's the best price you could do it for? I know your game. And I said, this is the best price I could do it for, and that is actually it. And I give them a really great price where I'd make £75 for selling a set of windows or a door. And I'd go home with my £75 and I was quite happy. I was, I think I was a very honest salesman. I never tried to pressure people. I wasn't the guy who you had to ask to leave twice. And I learned how much coffee I could drink as well, because everyone wants to make you a cup of tea or coffee when they sit down with you.
And how did you evolve out of the webcam business and into now your, what some people will call legitimate businesses or, you know, the real world?
I'll defend myself for 1 second.
Sure.
Did you know that 6% of Romania's GDP paid in taxes is paid from webcamming services?
No.
Well, that is a statistical fact that you can all look up at home right now. The webcam business is big in any country that has beautiful women and low salaries. Now it's been overwhelmingly taken over, I guess, where Eastern Europe was very poor. So in the late 1990s, early 2000s, when this technology came about, that it was very big over there. It's dying. South America's picking it up. Vietnam's picking it up. Countries that are now getting fast internet and have beautiful women who don't want to work for $100 a day are on the internet getting their tits out for money. It's a legitimate business. Is it a moral business? I don't know. Probably not. But it's very legitimate, and it pays 6% of Romania's GDP. So me, with my few webcam girls, none of which were Romanian, by the way, they were all British. I certainly wasn't the webcam king of Bucharest with my women, broadcasting them online. It wasn't a revolutionary idea. I was just doing what hundreds of thousands of other people in that country were doing at the time, back when I was doing it. So yeah, it was very legitimate. I think that we understood very well, even from being in that industry, that attention can always be translated into money. It's an attention economy. Andrew gives the example about, having the best coffee in the world. You got the best coffee in the world, but no one knows who you are. It doesn't matter. If Andrew Tate wants to sell a shitty coffee, he's going to have a big business and you're not, because it's attention. It's how many people pay attention to things. And that's something we learned, running these webcam models back in the day. So I realized even in this previous industry that it was an attention economy, even in what I was doing. And the same can be said with most businesses, even at the time. It's the reason why anyone bought television advertising. So Andrew and I started documenting our lives, and we didn't quite understand because we had a narrower worldview and social media had only just started to become such a popular thing. When we were documenting our lives, we realized how unusual our lives were. I mean, we were making decent enough money. We had a Lamborghini. We lived in this house with all these women, and people wanted to watch our content. And then people wanted to hear how we got there. And then we'd speak more on the internet about our life story and how we got to where we were. And people were always very interested in our story. And at the time, before, vlogging was big and before the Instagram was big, it was, I guess we were taken back slightly by just how interested people were in what we had to say and our view of the world and our view of many things, dating, relationships. I spoke a lot about that in the past, and my opinions back then when I was 25 are different to my opinions now because men grow up and men change. They haven't all changed, my opinions, but I've certainly evolved as a human being. And when we started realizing that everyone wanted to hear what we had to say, we, I guess, were blown away by how uninteresting almost everybody was, which was the inspiration originally behind the War Room, of which you are a member. Because we were like, where is everybody else who's interesting, who made money, who has an interesting life? Where is everybody else? Does everyone's life suck this much? So we created our own, I guess, community of like-minded people. And it just spiraled up from there. We've managed to use our attention to fill a very big gap in the market with university.com, the real world. In terms of when I was young and when I was knocking on doors selling windows, I had to just wing it. There was no sales master who would teach me how to sell for $50 a month. There was no e-commerce master to teach me how to run an e-commerce store for $50 a month. Even fitness, health, a lot of people don't have these people to look up to. So we created university.com, hoping, I guess, guessing it would get 10 to 20,000 students, 10 to 20,000. And the need for it, just like with our original content, and the desire to participate in it was a lot larger than we initially thought and initially anticipated, because people out there in the world are looking for answers to problems. And with the attention we had on us, we thought we could build an ecosystem where we could solve some of them. And our podcasts they don't make me any money, but I like doing them because I know people are interested in what I have to say for whatever reason. Even people who can't stand me and Andrew, when they talk about the real world or university.com, I always give the same example. I say, do you think Andrew is a good internet marketer? even if you hate him, you have to say yes. Arguably, he's the best in the world. So if we teach internet marketing inside of my school and all of the techniques Andrew uses are in there, then surely it's worth the price you pay because you're learning internet marketing on top of everything else from arguably the world's greatest internet marketer that there's ever been since the dawn of the internet. So yeah, it was a very slow progression. There was no real eureka moments in it. It was just day to day. And then you look back at all the progress you've made and you're like, wow, I built quite an empire here. But it was certainly one of the motivations for, I guess, closing down the webcam business. It was all well and good when we ran it, now that's been taken over by, the owner of OnlyFans and all these millions of OnlyFans agencies all over the world, by the way, which get no charges and no flack against them. But I'm the bad guy for running my small webcam studio back in the day. That industry may well be dying. I don't know because I'm not involved in it anymore. But yeah, it was just, I guess, a slow progression. But I guess the webcamming world and why I don't regret ever running that business is because it was very much behind a curtain. Nobody knew how it worked. We said we had teams of people doing the replies and stuff, and the model on camera was just following instructions and banging on a fake keyboard. And everyone was like, oh my God, the Tates are scamming people. I'm like, no, I'm telling you how the whole industry works. Talk to a webcam model in Vietnam today. She probably doesn't speak English besides, hi baby, how are you? And someone else is typing to you. I just kind of shone the light on it more than anyone else ever had up until that point, which garnered us so much interest in our life story and so much attention that I don't regret doing it. And it also taught me a lot of lessons about life, about men, about addiction, about desperation that I couldn't have seen elsewhere. So yeah, it was a fun business to run, but the progression, the answer to your question, was very slow and very natural.
So something that's come up a few times is it sounds like it's a powerful position in life to be able to walk away from anything, i.e. that's the opposite of desperation.
It is. And I've said before, a superpower in life is the ability to say no to things and the willingness to say no to things. There's a story that I told you just before this podcast that I can't repeat here.
Which I won't push.
Yeah, which you won't push, but I am really that guy. I'm willing to say no.
Even if you really want it.
Even if I really want it.
Even if you really want it.
Really, really.
You'll just still say no.
To just about anything. The sponsorship deal we were offered before we got arrested, that had the terms and conditions in our contract.
How much was that deal worth?
$50 million US dollars.
So you got offered $50 million to basically stop saying...
Well,
tell me about it.
I'll say it right now.
Yeah.
Do not mention or change your positions on the conflict in Ukraine. I can't change my position. I used to have a business in that country. I live next to that country. I've been to that country lots of times. I know what's been going on there since 2014. I can't change my position. Change my opinions on LGBTQ, transgenderism, the conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, to reverse my position on that.
This was in the contract of a sponsorship deal?
Basically, yeah.
Do you think that was a legitimate sponsorship deal, or do you think that had come from a higher place?
No, it's bull that wants to control loud voices. Let's say the brand wasn't, but let's say the brand was Pepsi. It wasn't. Pepsi didn't want me to say drink Pepsi. Somebody wanted to be giving me enough money that they could be the boss of me. And I wanted that $50 million. Yeah. So yeah, I'm willing to walk away from just about anything, which is my superpower. And I think that's one of the reasons they put us in jail as well. Because even right now, here I still am saying anything I like with no boss. So yeah, it's great.
Mm. And how did you stay unbreakable through the whole time when you've been silenced and cancelled and arrested? How did you stay strong?
Well, what option do you have? If you either remain unbreakable or you end up broken. That's not an option for me and Andrew. You could sentence me to 10 years in jail right now. I'll come out, I'll jump on a podcast, and I'll run my mouth. It's giving up and quitting. Maybe it's the fighter's mentality. Maybe it's just our relentless ambition that that was fostered in us from growing up in a life of poverty. I don't know exactly what it is, but Andrew and I are actually unbreakable. And we were running our mouth about this before these massive tests hit us. And I'm glad I got the chance to prove myself to the world and to back my word up by showing the world that I am who I said I was the entire time. I mean, you think when I got out of jail, I didn't have teams of lawyers saying, just be quiet. Let's deal with this in the courts. Don't talk about it. I'm on the Romanian news, calling out their institutions, naming prosecutors by name, throwing the word corrupt around, talking about all the problems within their systems. I made a lot more enemies, than I needed to make. But I just have this warrior mentality about me. And it all turned out well in the end. We fought our way through the problems.
And did that come from your dad?
Maybe, yeah. He wasn't one to be told what to do. And the apple never falls far from the tree.
And can you remember one thing your dad maybe did while you were growing up that taught you the hardest lesson?
While growing up, no. You always look at these things in hindsight because you assume your dad or your parents are going to be around forever. And you're wrong because they won't. I can look at examples of his life which certainly mirror the way Andrew and I have behaved. And maybe it's what I learned from his actions. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know what it is, but we're certainly very much like him. I mean, when he was kicked out of the military when I was 2 years old, they wanted him to sign some paper saying he had a personality disorder. And they offered him money, gave him an honorable discharge with a full pension he must have been in his mid-30s by this point. And he refused to take it. He said, my sanity is not for sale. I will not take your money and I will not sign your paper. And as a result, his sons and his daughter grew up in abject poverty. Now, she's a lawyer. She's doing very well for herself, married with kids. Andrew and I are, Andrew and I. So I don't resent his decision like some losers would. If I was nowhere in life now, I grew up poor because my dad refused to. I'm like, thank God he did that because it gave rise to the men that Andrew and I are. So very much like turning down the $50 million contract. I can see the parallels, but it's not like dad did this, we've been offered this, I learned this from dad, let's do it that way. I just see a lot of his traits in the way that I live.
Did you help keep Andrew sane in prison?
A little bit, but he wouldn't have gone insane. What's he going to do? Start smashing his head against the wall? Kill himself? Like, what does not remaining sane even mean?
Did you keep him calmer than he might otherwise have been?
Yeah, probably. And our sense of humor for both of us, made everything hilarious. I've never laughed so much in my life. Those 3 months, you have.
Well, what else is there to do?
It was just part of it was just so funny. I couldn't even wrap my head around the situation I was in. Neither could my lawyers, by the way, because they were like, okay, you've been arrested, you're in jail, you'll be out tomorrow. Of course, this is stupid. I don't think anybody understood the institutional level at which this was planned. I mentioned previously online the emails from Antony Blinken saying, yeah, shut these guys up. No one knew about that. They thought this was a shit story and we were in jail for a day. It's going to be over in 24 hours. No one was prepared for the months of prison time, from my lawyers to myself. So no one knew what it was until, a couple years later when we can look back at all the facts and everything's coming to light. And a lot more is going to come to light, by the way, in the future. So our sense of humor kept us sane. Yeah, but even if you locked me away from him for 3 months, neither of us would have done anything stupid. We would have come out and we'd still be fine. We just would have fewer fond memories to look back on from our prison experience, of which I have many.
Okay. I love business. And I don't think many people alive would have been able to keep their business going or growing being in prison for 90 days or however long you were in arrest, non-arrest. So how did you do that?
To be truthful, I could sit here and say that we're just such geniuses that somehow it all worked out. But turnover-wise, we took a hit because the attack, when we say it was a matrix attack, people assume, they were put in jail on a false accusation garbage case, or that we're criminals. You can assume whatever you like. But the moment I go to jail, payment processing gets attacked. DDoS gets attacked. App Store bans our app. It was coordinated to kill our financial resources. And the way I survived that was the impending sense of doom that Andrew and I carried around ever since we first saw the media start to lie about us. before being canceled. Here's a clip of Andrew Tate saying X, Y, and Z. He's a misogynist. I'm like, at that point, in Andrew's 10-year body of work online, they carefully found and edited old clips and put them in the BBC and the national news. We were like, something's up here, you know? So it was our foresight that saved us. Because if we had been set up in a very traditional way, company A, company account, personal account, company account pays personal account, that's most people's setup. If we'd been set up in the traditional way, we would not have survived this. But we smelt a rat. We thought something was coming, and that's what saved us.
So must have been pretty difficult to move from a traditional receiving money system to an off-grid money system, I suppose. Is that
not as difficult as you might think?
No.
It's not as difficult as you might think. And the magic word in all of this is crypto. And crypto is an amazing technology. And I feel like crypto is going to save a lot of people's lives, literally, and save people from the level of attack that governments could put on you. Everything crypto said it was supposed to do when it was first launched, it very much fulfills its mission.
So does that make you fear like a cashless society, a central bank digital currencies?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that centralized...
Just a little bit?
Well, centralized currencies are all dangerous in one way or another, aren't they? From the US dollar to the euro. They're all dangerous. I mean, the European Central Bank is, funds various elections and keeps the leaders in charge in Europe, and everyone knows they do it. Yeah, it's very scary. And people argue, is Bitcoin centralized because, MicroStrategy with Michael Saylor's buying too much of it, et cetera, et cetera. But crypto does what it says on the tin, as we say in England.
Yeah.
And, I think that it's going to save a lot of people from a lot of hardship and heartache in the future. I lost a lot of money still. I lost a lot of income. I lost a lot. But yeah, we survived because we knew this was coming and we set ourselves up in a way that makes us much harder to attack. Where do you attack? Okay, you took away my bank accounts, but that happened before I got arrested. That kind of did me a favor. It's like, okay, I can't use banks anymore. Let's think of another way to restructure this. So yeah, planning for the future.
Yeah. Why did you start the War Room?
The War Room, I alluded to this very early on, wasn't started for what it was. To be fair, when we started getting banned, we thought Telegram doesn't ban people for opinions. The War Room originally was like $100 or $200. It was very cheap, but it was set up. First of all, we didn't know who our fans were, or people who admired us, or people who wanted to listen to us or associate with us. We didn't really know that. There was no infrastructure set up that we could possibly know that. We just saw a number on our videos, and we knew people wanted to hear what we had to say. So the War Room, when Andrew first got banned on Twitter, was his first ever ban, back under the previous ownership. And the War Room was set up as a chat room where Andrew could voice his opinions and people could listen to them. And rather than get it flooded, there was a small paywall to get in. It was only when the people started talking back that we were like, that's a smart guy. This is a good guy. This guy's richer than me. What's he doing in here?
Yeah.
And we were like, this is actually a very good network. Then the meetup started. Then we started, making friends within the War Room. A lot of my friends now, I can't say his name, but I won't say their names. But a lot of my friends now, I certainly pulled from the War Room, and I've close friendships with them, and I trust these guys, with my life.
Don't you do quite a lot of business with War Room members as well?
I only do business with War Room members.
Right.
I only do. In fact, university.com was started. We needed professors who were all millionaires in their certain respective fields. And at first, we basically needed them to be slave labor. We've got 0 subscribers. We turn over 0. I'm not giving you upfront cash, but it will grow. Let me pay you on how many students we get. Do you want to join in? So I had millionaires typing away at a room with 6 people in it on day one, giving business lessons when their time was much more valuable to be used elsewhere. We pulled all of them from the War Room. So yeah, the War Room didn't start as what it became, but once we realized the potential of the other people inside of it is when we were like, we're onto something here. And now it's the most useful tool that I have. If I want anything done, I can ask the War Room, anything. So it's wonderful.
Well, I think you said something quite profound there, because you said you only do business with people in the War Room. So if someone's got a bit of an edge to them. They're like, okay, well then I'll pay to get in, because people don't think pay to play. They're just trying to do everything for free, aren't they?
Well, you want to get access to people. The War Room isn't new in terms of business model-wise. Yeah. Let's say before the internet, you wanted to do business in London. You buy access to the private members club with the billionaires hang out with, and you make friends in there. What's different? With everything moving online, what is different about the War Room as what is essentially a worldwide, it's a global business networking organization. That's how you could break it down, but it's so much more than that. But if you were to break it down into its very simplest terms, that's what it is. But what's changed? I mean, I've read American Psycho, and I saw everybody trying to get it's a movie as well, trying to get reservations to certain restaurants, to be seen in certain places, to rub shoulders with this guy, to rub shoulders with that guy. What's really different about the War Room to the way that the world has always been set up ever since money's been invented, you know? So yeah, if you want to associate with me and Andrew, it's no good DMing me on Twitter when I don't read it. But if you come face to face with me and be like, hey man, I've been at an event, I've been in the War Room 4 or 5 months, I got this idea, I'll listen to you. That's how you get face to face with people. And it's the way you always have. It's just Andrew and I have put a bit of a new spin on it. So a few detractors and a few idiots will try to criticize it. I don't want to be open to the whole world. I don't want to hear your ideas. I don't want to talk to everybody. Nobody with a mission, I won't say money or influence or power. Nobody with a mission wants to be that person. I don't want to be accessible to everybody in the world. So the War Room is an amazing filter for me. But yeah, I only do business with people inside the War Room. But it's been the same forever. You know, I'll only do business with the guy who goes to my polo club. You could have said that in the 80s. Golf clubs were a big one as well. It's always been that way.
Yeah. If you want to get on the list of a really nice watch, then go over there and buy a couple of watches to get on the list of a really nice watch.
Exactly.
Buy a couple of the Ferraris that you can buy on the floor before you get the...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the way the world has always worked. Andrew and I have just made it digital.
And do you think because social media is kind of commoditized free, that's been a detriment to a lot of people because they believe, like, I hear a lot of people say, oh, you can just learn for free on YouTube. And I just think it's one of the most ridiculous things in the world to say.
Well, this is interesting. So I've conducted 2,100 interviews with students of the real world so far over the past 3.5 years with all these amazing success stories. I never see a standalone video of, hi, I'm a guy watching YouTube and I've made all this money learning X, Y, and Z. So yes, it's human knowledge. And all the human knowledge in the world exists on the internet. The key thing with the real world especially is that we're updating in real time. The professors are reading all the knowledge and regurgitating what's useful back to the people. But I'm going to give you another example that perhaps you haven't thought of. Why go to university to study particle physics? Because all of the information about particle physics is readily available on the internet. Is that not true? Every single thing, all the works of Lawrence Krauss and Richard Feynman and Stephen Hawking is available online. Everything they've discovered, everything they know, all the mathematical equations, all the formulas are readily available online. So why aren't you a particle physicist? It's not just about whether information's out there. It's about the delivery mechanism and the vehicle that delivers the ideas to you. And that's what the real world is so good at. So I understand you could, I guess, a lot of the information inside of the real world, you could independently Google and search and read and find somewhere if you wanted to compile all that information yourself. However, we have professors willing to give it to you day to day. And inside of the War Room, I have people who know things I don't want to learn. You know, there's probably a particle physicist inside the War Room. I don't know, but I bet if I asked, there is one. And if I needed somebody to explain to me how the speed of light differs when it's put through a spectrum from ultraviolet to infrared, I could ask him, you know? So everything you learn at any school is readily available online because all of the world's human information that isn't classified is on the internet. You tell me the stuff in your business degree that you went and got at university you can't look up? You can look up everything. They're just books, but your professor tells you which books to read and how to apply it. That's the power.
Yeah, and ironic Ironically, in the school system, that professor's on £37,000.
Yeah.
And teaching you business and economics.
Yes. And ironically, in the school system, this is my point. So I've got a millionaire teaching you business, and then you've got a guy telling you which books to read about business who's never run a business and has no money. So which one's better? I know which one's cheaper, but in terms of value for money, it would be better if it was exactly the same. However, my guys are qualified. So yeah, that's a very, and I know that's not your argument, so I'll say that's a very stupid argument against the real world, because it can be applied to any educational. If I don't have a degree, but I know particle physics because I've read, in fact, I have read all of Stephen Hawking's books. So I know more than other people and laymen know because I've read those books. Does that make me a qualified particle physicist? No. However, inside of the real world, although you don't end up, as of yet, you don't end up with a real degree at the end of it, which is changing very soon, by the way. We have 2,100 interviews with people from all over the world who have financially changed their lives because of the lessons taught inside. Show me a university with that.
How are you living your dad's legacy, you and Andrew?
That's very interesting. I feel like, I don't talk about my kids, so I won't, but this certainly applies to them as well. I feel like my dad was a very principled, moral, strong man. And just the idea that I can go online and get 10 people, 10, who I've never met, one in California, one in Mozambique, one in Mongolia, etc., to become stronger, more principled, more focused people. That, in a way, is living my dad's legacy. Forget the millions who I think lives we've changed. I saw a clip from a very famous fitness influencer who said, we've all been doing fitness influencing for years, all of us, with our protein shakes and our ripped abs and our workout guides. He said there's a single person who's inspired more men to go to the gym than all of us put together, and that man is Andrew Tate. So I'm not just reshaping the lives of a few people inside of the war room, the hundreds of thousands of people inside the real world. I think that the message that Andrew and I put out is directly affecting the lives of millions of young men, and in a positive way. So that, if my father was here today, I'd say, Dad, look what I've done. And I think he'd be very happy with that.
And does that make you feel happy?
Yeah, it does. It makes me feel incredibly happy.
What's something no one knows about Andrew?
Well, a lot of the things that no one knows about Andrew, people don't know with good reason. So I couldn't really sit here and say them. I mean, it depends on who's asking, and it depends because the opinions of Andrew vary massively. Some people think he's stupid when he's smart. Some people think he's, on steroids when he's natural. Some people think that he's loud and brash when he's actually quiet and reserved. So I don't know exactly which myths about Andrew I can bust, because everyone has their own opinions about him. But you've met him in person, and you've seen him at events, and you've seen him in the war room, and you've seen him interact with people. I don't know. I can't really tell you something no one knows, but I'll say to the people who are our detractors, what will surprise you most about Andrew is how polite and nice he is. If you only read about Andrew in the mainstream media, that's a person you don't want to know. But he is well-liked, loved, respected, polite. Nobody leaves him with a negative impression. And I think that's the coolest thing about him. But you probably know that. And a lot of people watching the podcast probably also know that. But I've got no secrets to tell you. No big crushing secrets. Sorry. I'm not a gossiper anyway. So
no, and that wasn't really the question I was asking. Just, I think you've answered it.
Yeah.
Because I could have said, how's Andrew most misunderstood? But then, like you said,
yes,
there's context to that.
Yes, it depends whose opinion I'm trying to counteract. But yeah, he's just a wonderful person who will do anything for anybody if he could. If he has a level of respect for you, he'd do absolutely anything for anybody, especially me and my friends.
Yeah. And what's the most suffering you see Andrew go through? What's the greatest pain he seems to feel?
Andrew feels no pain. That's my answer.
I don't think it's true.
Well, you know what?
I don't know.
Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. There's a line from The Dark Knight that I like when Bruce Wayne is talking to Alfred. And he's talking about his limits. Like, the Joker's going to do this, the Joker's going to do that. You know, I've got limits. Alfred says something about limits. He goes, oh, don't you have limits? And he says, Batman has no limits. Andrew Tate feels no pain. That's my answer. Because whether as individual men, Andrew and I may struggle and suffer with various things, which every man on the planet does, by the way. This isn't something unique to me or Andrew. It's you. Right now, the moment I said that, you're thinking of a problem that bothers you, I'm sure, or something that hurts you. Everyone is. Everyone listening to this is. But I don't think the mission of what Andrew's trying to accomplish, or the mission of what I'm trying to accomplish, is assisted in any way by telling anybody what I struggle with. Because one of our biggest things that we preach is nobody cares, which is true. If you're a man and you're down and out and you're struggling, nobody cares about you. It's down to you.
Well, you would care about Andrew
maybe
if he was struggling.
Maybe, but that's a very private matter. And irregardless of whether he struggles or not, or whether I struggle or not, with various things in our life, as every man does, Andrew Tate is genuinely, for the most part, unbreakable, and he feels no pain. And that's the image he puts out there because it's largely true. But me saying, oh, it's hard for him when X, Y, and Z happens. What's that do? Fuel my enemies? Like, that's not an interesting topic that I think anybody needs to hear. Because they don't listen to me and Andrew to hear about our problems. They listen to me and Andrew for solutions to theirs. And that's what I want to give.
So what's also interesting is he's written a book called Made of Pain.
Yes. You can't make a gin and tonic without gin, you know? And pain and struggle is one of the best and most necessary, I think, ingredients in the life of what makes a great man. If we discuss any great man in history, anyone who you consider great, we remember their great victories, their great triumphs, their great achievements, from George Washington to Genghis Khan to Constantine the 11th. You remember their great downfalls sometimes, famously in the last case. However, none of these things were achieved without great pain and great struggle. You can always watch the man cross the finish line, but a lot goes into that. And certainly in my life, even if I'd never suffered these legal problems, never been put in jail, I'm telling you, to just get here, to multi-millionaire status, where I was 5 years ago, to just even get there, to taste the fruits of my labor, took a lot of plowing, a lot of planting, a lot of irrigation. It was very, very hard work. So yeah, the life of every successful man, pain and struggle are two of the most important ingredients.
So do you endeavor every day to face very hard things? Is that a conscious thing for you?
No, I wake up every day prepared to face hard things. It's not that I endeavor to, because nobody wants to. But that's not the nature of...
That's the paradox of it, isn't it?
But that's not the nature of the world. What I said to the War Room guys after the fighting event, the guys who were unprepared for the 2 rounds of boxing they had to do, I said to them very clearly, I said, sure, you've prepared for today because you're sparring with Luke, you're sparring with Andrew, and you've prepared as much as you think you have, and you've still fallen short. Loads of you have fallen very, very short. However, when real violence comes, you don't know what's coming. You don't prepare for it. I was literally opening Christmas presents with my daughter, and 24 hours later, I was in jail, didn't see her for 3 months. That's life. So I don't endeavor to suffer ever. And I don't endeavor to face pain. I'm not a masochist. I don't try to put myself through difficulties for self-gratification. But I do prepare myself every day knowing that a harder day will come. And in my life, which is going to be wonderful, and it's been pretty wonderful so far, I'm going to find myself in lots of difficult situations and lots of dark places. And you have to have, put the firewood aside to fuel the light. I don't want this, but it's just, you yourself, I'm sure, have had many days when you've woken up and looked at your papers or your spreadsheets and just thought, I am fucked. But
lockdown. We had a 100 apartment block we were building in lockdown. The worst fucking time in ever.
There we go. And could you have seen that coming? No. But the way that you got through it wasn't just off the cuff. It wasn't luck. It wasn't making it up as you went along. You had prepared for the hardship in advance in one way or another, mentally, financially, physically, however. So yeah, no one endeavors to suffer. Only crazy people. But I wake up prepared to suffer and prepared to protect those who I love from suffering as much as I can. That's my mission.
So final 3 questions.
Let's go.
The Russell Brand scandal that's going on in the UK and apparently what he was been up to, does that look like a kind of playbook they put on you? Do you think Russell Brand's innocent?
Let's take this a step back, because when Russell Brand allegedly raped this woman, I would have been 15 years old, didn't know who he was. It's impossible for me as an adult to say he's guilty or he's not guilty. And this is the ironic thing, you see, because how do you get found guilty in England? By a jury of your peers. So 26 years ago, this is alleged to have happened. And 26 years ago, there was no text messaging, there was no Facebook messages, there was no video recording on your devices. Maybe there was no CCTV. You have one person's word against another. And I, as a rational, smart man, I think everybody should put themselves in this position. I'm not going to say Russell Brand's guilty or Russell Brand's innocent. What I will say is I cannot determine that fact beyond all reasonable doubt, which the Magna Carta put down in England. We were the first people to write the rule of law. You have to be convicted by a jury of your peers beyond all reasonable doubt. That is the cornerstone of English law. If you select 12 rational people like me, and she says she got 26 years ago and is crying on the stand, and he says she's making it up, how can I find him guilty beyond all reasonable doubt? The answer is I can't. Nobody can. Did she go to the police afterwards and get medical reports done, go to the hospital where there are injuries? I actually don't know this in this case, but I bet there isn't. I would bet $1 million there isn't any of these things. So it's one person's word against another. So I don't think he's guilty, but that's an opinion. But as a matter of fact, I cannot determine that he is based on the words of somebody else. And that should be the opinion of every single juror that they select in this case. If Russell Brand had not talked about the vaccines, Big Pharma, the war in Ukraine, all these various things, would this legal case have happened? I know the answer is no. And that doesn't mean he did it or he didn't do it. That means certainly the case coming about was politically motivated. So my personal opinion, I don't think matters. But if you're British and you are watching this and you get selected for jury service for Russell Brand or any other case of any other crime where it's one person's word against another, I think you should remember that the cornerstone of English law is convicted by a jury of your peers beyond all reasonable doubt. And if it's one person's word against another, it's 50-50 at best, which isn't even a balance of probabilities, which is the way to win in a civil proceeding. So I hope that Russell Brand is acquitted. I would hate to know, just as a man, not me, for any man, for my sons, for your sons, I would hate to know that a sexual encounter 26 years ago could be fabricated and lied about and put a man in jail for 20 years. I would hate for that to be the reality of the world. So I hope in my heart of hearts that he is acquitted. And my personal opinion has nothing to do with it.
Do you think anyone is able to have a fair trial now with the weaponization of social media? How could anyone even be on that jury and be neutral or unbiased?
Well, they can't. They can't. And I'm very glad in Romania my case was deemed not fit to even have a trial. I never even got there because the accusation was so stupid. So luckily the judicial process nipped it in the bud for me. I say in the bud, it still took 2 years for them to do that. However, yeah, when you're a public figure, the rules on anonymity really suck because a woman can accuse Rob Moore of whatever she likes, and she's protected by anonymity. But the media, when you get arrested, can run your name through the mud for years, and no one knows who that person is. That's why I'm looking forward to September. Because after I win, everyone will know who my false accuser is. You know, she didn't say, even if she had, when I was in prison, had sent me a message saying sorry, I would have been like, you know what, let's not do this. But she's protected by anonymity. Jane Doe on all the paperwork. No one's allowed to say her name. I'm like, well, you're allowed to say my name when you put me in prison and say allegedly this, allegedly that every day for 3 years. They've basically given up now, thank God. But she's protected by anonymity. It's wild. Everyone should be protected by anonymity until somebody's convicted. That's what I think. I think the first we should hear of these allegations is Russell Brand has just been convicted. That's the first we should hear. Or if he's never convicted, nobody should hear anything about it, because it is very unfair on him if he's innocent, or any other man who's accused of any crime. It's extremely unfair. Anonymity should be for everybody or for nobody in these crimes, because being called a victim of is nowhere near as bad as being called a rapist when you're not, because people feel sorry for victims and people empathize for victims. No one empathizes for the person who is accused of heinous acts. And what's very sad for me is people project their own pain with things they've gone through in their lives onto other people. I actually had a very moving conversation on Twitter about 1.5 years ago, where this woman would not stop posting about me being an abuser and whatever. I wasn't even accused, but just type it out. When I look at his face, I see the face of evil. And I had a conversation. I swayed her opinion. I said, look, she had a survivor in her bio. I said, I empathize with you for everything you've been through. And I understand you hate men who commit this type of crime, but don't take whoever did this to you all these years ago and make me the face of that brand. Don't make me the face of that crime. That's what the media want you to do. Here are some facts from my case. Here are the messages of her proving to falsely accuse me. Here is the incident where she said she was locked in my house. She went out to get pizza and came back, and it was a party that I wasn't at. Please look at this. And she was like, well, why is the media calling you all these things? I said, because they want to emotionally charge people like you with hatred for me. So there is no fair trial, ever. And there can't be. So anonymity should be for everybody.
So is the world corrupt?
Oh, absolutely. But it always has been. And the system that we live in isn't all bad. I mean, it's not Somalia where there's no government or rule of law and you can go around doing whatever you like. So, yeah, it is, because people are corruptible. No system can work perfectly because people are corruptible until AI takes over, and that's even scarier. So God knows what happens then. Yeah, the world's very corrupt.
Recently, Kanye West launched a song called Heil Hitler. That's a cultural fascination.
Yes.
What's going on with Kanye West?
Kanye West once had every newspaper in the world talking about him because his wife wore a see-through dress to an award ceremony nobody cared about. He once had everybody talking about him years ago because he was walking around in a black hood and you couldn't see his face. Kanye West is very good at garnering attention. Now, the fact that you just asked me about that song, and it's banned everywhere, and is still one of the most viral songs that there's ever been. It's actually quite catchy, to be honest. It's a pretty catchy song. He's good at making music. Whatever, he could say anything. He could say "free the pedos" over a track, and it could be a good beat, you know? So the fact that it's the most viral song in the world proves that Kanye knows how to do what Kanye does well. Does he love Hitler? You have to ask him. I don't know. But what I'm saying is he's created the single most viral song in the world. And it's great that you're asking me about it. And more people are going to go listen to it now after watching this podcast and be like, oh, well, that's actually quite catchy. Because it is, because he's a musician. Maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe it isn't. Maybe he has a deep-rooted political agenda that he's trying to spread across the world. Or maybe he just knows how to garner attention. Which Andrew knows how to do very well as well. So I understand that. And I'm not going to tell you which one I think it is. But viral song.
Why did you launch a tequila?
Because I like tequila. And because I understand that drinking alcohol, as unhealthy as it is, and as much as I tell my viewers, don't drink or smoke till you're 30, which is literally my messaging. I'm anti-drugs, never tried them. I understand that people look at me and they see my life's in order, I'm wealthy, I'm rich, I'm in good shape, and I drink alcohol. I feel like I can be quite a good ambassador for recreational drinking, which has been part of human culture since before we had writing. The earliest writings in the world from modern day Iraq mention alcohol consumption. Nobody knows who invented wine, but alcohol consumption has been part of human culture since humans have had culture. And it destroys people, some people. And it can be damaging on people's health, some people. And with every single indulgence, I won't call it a bad habit, with every single indulgence, there is a subsect of people that will abuse it, destroy themselves, whether it be gambling or tequila or pornography or anything. So I feel like I'm a very good ambassador to the healthy use of alcohol in terms of being a high functioning man in good physical health with a very heavy workload and a very high level of success. And the fact that I'm always moving up and always climbing up the ladder, and I do drink. I've been synonymous with this in a way for 5, 6, 7 years. Because people see me drinking, whatever on some episode, but they don't realize that was Friday night and Saturday I'm working out and back at my laptop. They don't see that. So I've always been an advocate for recreational drinking. I will never stop recreational drinking. I love recreational drinking. And what better way to be an advocate than to have my own brand that I can get behind so I can talk about it more frequently and push the message that it is fine to have indulgences in life as long as you don't let them control you.
And why tequila?
I like tequila. I like tequila, and I especially like my tequila. I feel like there's actually a very good answer to this. People ask me why I don't launch my own cigar brand. And I say because the Cuban cigar market, it's a small island, is monopolized. Chinese own a lot of it, believe it or not. Obviously, the Cuban national government owns a lot of it. It's monopolized. I could launch a cigar brand and I could make money with this cigar brand. However, the cigars I sell would never be as good as a Romeo and Julieta or a Cohiba because I can't compete with the Cubans. People ask me why I don't release my own brand of suits. I said, because my tailor's been in business since 1849, and no suits I get made anywhere in the world will be as high quality as the suits I make. So I'd have to downgrade the cigars I smoke, downgrade the suits I wear to be a brand ambassador for any of these things if I were to ever launch them. So I won't do that. What I'll do instead is tell young men to become successful, make enough money so you can wear a Savile Row suit and smoke a Cohiba. That's what I do. So whiskey is my second drink of choice. I'm a whiskey or tequila guy. But whiskey, you can't compete in the market anywhere near to the level you could compete with tequila. With tequila, there's a bunch of people in Mexico making tequila with all their slightly different recipes. And if you can win the bidding war, you could sell the best product on the market, which is what I'm doing. Whiskey doesn't work that way.
Right.
Johnny Walker owns distilleries and has owned certain distilleries that they include in their blue label and black label and gold label blends that are 120, 130 years old. They've monopolized this certain supply. And if I started making whiskey today, it would be 12 years before I could put it in a bottle. So I'd have to buy some other whiskey and slap a label on it if I was happy enough with it. But in my spare time, I'd still drink Johnny Walker. I won't do that for the same reason I won't sell suits and I won't sell cigars. But I did and can win the bidding war and sell the best tequila money can buy. And that's why I chose tequila.
Right. And is this brand launched? Can you mention it?
Well, you can buy it. You could pre-order it right now. By the time this podcast goes out, you should be able to pre-order it worldwide. And you're going to see it in stores, clubs, bars, everything worldwide within the next few months. And Talisman Tequila.
There you go.
Which is a very cool name. And everyone knows Talisman is my nickname anyway. So it works very well.
Perfect way to end. Tristan, thank you very much.
No problem at all, Rob.
Thank you.